062357. We can do great things with great love.
Twesinye okubanga okyali naffe wano ku NTV akawungezi kakyagenda mu maaso. Omusirikale wa UPDF eyakuba omwana amasasi mu butanwa ng'adduukirira okukwata abatemu abaali balumbye amaka agamu mu kitundu ekyo yeetondedde ab'enju y'omugenzi. David Wamala Muliika ye yeetondedde ku poliisi ensangi. Ku nkomerero ya Ssabbiiti ewedde abazigu abatannamanyika balumba ennyumba ya Agnes Nannungi nga baagala okubanyaga era wakati mu kudduukirira omwana waabwe ow'emyaka 14 Priscilla Buyinza yakubibwa essasi eryamuttirawo.
David Wamala Muliika agamba nti ekiro Mutumbi yawulira endulu nga zisaba obuyambi okuva ewa mukama we gw'akuuma era bw'atyo n'afuluma n'emmundu y'okudduukirira.
Yali ayita afande Ntaasa ababbi bakola ki? Banzita.
Wano ku muliraane wa Agnes Nannungi Kinyana Mpindi okuva ku maka gaabwe era Wamala agamba nti bwe yatuukawo Nannungi n'amusaba okubataasa bw'atyo kwe kukuba amasasi mu bbanga ng'asimbira.
Kati ku kituli bwe baasima nabagamba munda eriyo omuntu asobola.
Ye Kasese yeyolekedde nate okufiirwa enguudo zaayo zonna oluvannyuma lw'omuganya mwamba okuddamu okwanjaala olw'enkuba efudde embeerudde eyo ensangi zino. Mu kaseera kano waliwo okutya nti amazzi g'omugga ogwo gayinza okwanjaalira ne mu kkubo eriva e Fort Potro okudda e Kasese, ekintu ekiyinza okugootaanya ennyo eby'entambula mu disitulikiti ey'e Kasese.
Mu mwezi ogwokutaano omugga guno ogwa Nyamwamba gwajjula ne gwanjala mu tawuni y'e Kasese ne guleeta amataba agaviirako abantu okufiirwa ebintu byabwe okuli amayumba, enguudo n'entindo. Olunaku lw'eggulo amataba gazze mu tawuni y'e Kasese oluvannyuma lw'enkuba okuddamu okutonnya olutakya ekiviiriddeko n'ebintu ebibadde bikozesebwa disitulikiti okwezimba obupya okwonooneka.
It is very disturbing to see that as you are doing something, the other day it is going. We had renovated the offices, we lost them.
Waliwo okutya okulaba nti amataba gano gayinza okusalako oluguudo olugatta disitulikiti y'e Kasese ne Fort Portal, ekintu ekiyinza okugootaanya emirimu.
It can destroy several government properties in just 5 minutes. So let's look at the cost we may incur in solving or in trying to repair or replace our important infrastructure. Look at the airport, look at the bridge, look at the road connecting Kabarole and Kasese.
Kitegeerekeseeko ng'Abachina abali mu kukola enguudo e Kasese bwe batadde dde ebyuma byabwe wansi obutakola mulimu gwonna okutuusa nga gavumenti evuddeyo n'ebaako kyekola.
Because we had not, or the contractor had not worked on the dangerous spot at Blambia School, all this has been washed away. Government has again lost millions of money.
Abamu ku batuuze bakyanoonya entambula naddala oluvannyuma lw'entindo ezisinga obungi mu bitundu by'eno okwonoonebwa amataba. Emabegako emigga emirala e Kasese okuli Ssebwe ne Mubuko gyegatta ku Nyamwamba okwanjala ne gireeta amataba mu munisipaali y'e Kasese.
Embeera bw'etyo bw'eri mu disitulikiti ey'e Kasese. Ssenkulu wa poliisi Lieutenant General Kale Kehura akyusizza abakulira poliisi y'e Bugembe mu Jinja. Kino nno kiddiridde abapoliisi okukuba amasasi mu bayizi Ssabbiiti ewedde era bw'atyo omu n'afiirawo ate abalala ne basigala ku bisago. Kayihura olunaku olw'eggulo yabadde mu maka g'omwana eyakubibwa amasasi n'afa.
Okunoonyereza ku by'okutibwa kw'omuyizi Rashid Ntale ow'emyaka 13 kutandise. Ntale yakubwa amasasi Ssabbiiti ewedde ku kisaawe Bugembe. Poliisi yali egezaako okugumbulula abayizi abaali beekalakaasa nga bawakanya omuwanguzi eyali alangiriddwa. Abapoliisi babiri okuli Private Corporal Julian Muchunguzi ne Alex Waigubya bamaze okukwatibwa ku nsonga eno ku biragiro by'omuduumizi wa poliisi General Kale Kayihura. Kayihura yabadde Bugembe olunaku lw'eggulo mu maka g'abakadde ba Ntale kati omugenzi okubakubagiza.
Omukulongoza poliisi tutandikira ku station enkola ya poliisi ku station family wa miliyoni emu just kubakubagiza bayamba omukuliza era compensation kijja kujja oluvannyuma ya gavumenti ate n'ebirala ebyetaagibwa singa waliwo byewetaaga tukiza kuyambako ojja kutuwulira.
Kayihura yasinkanya abamu ku batuuze b'e Bugembe abamulaze obwennyamivu ku ngeri y'abasirikale ba poliisi abamu gye beeyisaamu. Abadde akulira poliisi e Bugembe naye akyusiddwa mbagirawo olwo Francis Musamali n'amuddira mu bigere wakati mu kusaakaanya okuva mu bantu.
Muge tulina okuva ebweru w'eggwanga bannamawulire b'omukutu gw'ensi yonna Al Jazeera kooti mu Egypt ebasibye emyaka 7. Bano ebigambo bibaddugalidde kooti bwegaanye okwesigama ku kwewozaako kwabwe ku bigambibwa nti baali bakolagana n'ekibiina ki Muslim Brotherhood okufulumya amawulire amakyamu agakwata ku Misiri. Kooti mu Egypt okukola bwetyo eyongedde okukakasa nga gavumenti mu ggwanga eryo eddembe ly'amawulire bwetalitwala ng'ekikulu.
Peter Greste, Muhammad Fami ne Bahe Mohamed. Omulamuzi akibataddeko nti beekobaana n'ekibiina ki Muslim Brotherhood ne bafulumya amawulire agalaga nti Egypt yali mu kiseera kya kabenje. Greste we yakolera amawulire agoogerwako. Abantu bangi wonna mu Egypt baali beesomye nga beekalakaasa wakati mu kuwakanya okwegibwako kwa Mohamed Morsi, gavumenti ye yasuulibwa ab'amagye mu mwezi ogw'omusanvu omwaka oguwedde. Morsi yali wa kibiina ki Muslim Brotherhood, gavumenti kye yaweera omwaka oguwedde. Greste mu bukugu bw'amawulire yalina okunoonya aba Muslim Brotherhood okubabuuza bwe gwali. Ab'obuyinza kwe kumuzingako mu wooteri emu mu Cairo ne bamukwata ne banne babiri mu mwezi ogw'e12. Obujulizi bw'aba Greste bungi kooti ebugaanye. Kyokka n'oludda olw'abalumiriza lwalema okusengeka engeri Greste gye yafulumya amawulire ag'obulimba. Omu ku banne ababiri bwe baakwatibwa ku myaka 7 ayongeddwako 3 olw'ebigambibwa nti yasangibwa n'emmundu. Bannamawulire abalala 6 abaawozesebwa naye nga tebaliiwo mu buntu baweereddwa emyaka 10 era we balirabirwako wonna nabo baakusuulibwa mu kkomera. Amawanga mangi gazze gasaba Egypt obutayisa lugaayu mu ddembe ly'abantu bano naye gavumenti n'egaana. Kigambibwa nti Egypt ekozesezza bannamawulire bano okuweereza obubaka eri eggwanga lya Qatar Al Jazeera gyesibuka obw'okulekeraawo okuwagira ekibiina ki Muslim Brotherhood.
Bwe nno obugubi n'ebimu ku bizibu bannamawulire bye basanga nga bakola omulimu gwabwe. NTV akawungezi negetukujjidde mu nsiike y'ebyemizannyo. Nantamegwa w'eggwanga mu muzannyo gw'emifumbi Ivan Byekwaso yeyeka agenda okukiikirira eggwanga mu mpaka z'ensi yonna ezigenda okubeera mu ggwanga lya Slovakia ku nkomerero ya Sabbiiti eno. Byekwaso asimbula okwosa enkya okwolekera ekibuga Nitra gy'agenda okuttunkira ne bannantamegwa b'amawanga amalala.
Gebule nakumbale Ivan Byekwaso yetabe mu mpaka za World Bodybuilding Championship olwayo tumusanze buziga ku Country Resort ng'akola training eyakasa mmeme. Byekwaso ye Munnayuganda yekka yafunye olukusa okwetaba mu mpaka zino ezigenda okubeera mu kibuga Nitra eky'eggwanga lya Slovakia. Guno gwe gugenda okubeera omulundi gwa Byekwaso ogwokubiri okwetaba mu mpaka zino ng'omulundi gwe ogwasooka yakwata ekifo kya 2.
Era kyova olaba basuubize Bannayuganda nti bwe mba ngenzeeyo ngenda kukola ekiri okuba siti abazungu manyi weakness zaabwe bo balina okuntyaza.
Wabula wadde ng'empaka zino azeetegekera butaweera, Byekwaso agamba nti akyalina obuzibu bw'ensimbi ezimutwala mu mpaka zino.
Empaka zino z'ez'abantu abatakozesa biragalalagala, natural bodybuilding. Era tusuubira nti ajja kubawangula ku mbeera gy'alimu. Naye nga tusaba abazira kisa batuddukire miliyoni 5 tusobole okuzifuna munnaffe atambule.
Mu kiseera kino Byekwaso alinawo obukadde 2 bwokka obwamuweereddwa ab'ekkanisa ya ATM. Sam Mpoza, NTV akawungeezi.
Webale nnyo munnaffe Sam Mpoza. Ate mu mpaka za kickboxing ezabadde mu kibuga ky'e Masaka ekiro ekikeesezza olwaleero munnamagye John Tumukunde awangudde Sharif Bukenya n'obubonero 209 ku 19 nga beetegekera empaka zino. Bukenya yali asuubizza okukuba Tumukunde amuleke mu kkubiro. Empaka zino nga tezinnatandika wabaddewo abeekoze obusolosolo ku stage.
Kafinze nga mukuba mutimba siddu bannabaki banagenze dda mala nakuwa ssente n'engenda muzeeyi Kasozi nkulenge dawo naki balekaabadde naki tukyagenda maaso bantu baffe Maria Flows on fire right now tukyagenda bonna batabuse Uwenda bali kuchilana kati bali. Piga tuombe pigia na mlia kwa nachokulia yuko sasa nyumba. Winner is ready corner who scored 209 points. Siwa Shiri. Siwa Shiri.
Yasindike mpana nyalo, yecha mukama tayirange, soloje pana yandika, yasindike mkwana jonna, temunne yabatayirange, jebalage mkwana musi, soloje pana yandika, yasindike mkwana jonna, temunne yabatayirange.
Byabadde Masaka katusubire nno munnaffe nti ab'ebisolo tebakunone okutyobola eddembe ly'ekisolo ekyo. Ate mu mpaka z'ekikopo ky'ensi yonna ekiyindira ya Chile ne Netherlands bali mu nsiike so nga mu kiseera kyekimu Australia ne Spain nabo battunka. Mu mupiira oguddako Cameroon yakuttunka ne Brazil ate Croatia ezanye ne Mexico. Bo abawagizi baliko bye boogedde ku mipiira gino.
Mena with the ball in. And the header was never really going to trouble Jasper Cillessen as it was fired towards goal by Eduardo Vargas.
Omupiira ogwaliro Netherlands ne Chile nja kusuubira nti Netherlands ajja kukuba 2-1.
Netherlands bali strong nnyo ku midfield ne coaching experience ziri high. Ndowooza bagenda kuba Chile 4-1.
Brazil ajja kukuba 2 bwerere. Cameroon sisuubira nti alina kyayinza okukola ekyamanyi ku Brazil.
Spain eyinza kugwa draw na Australia.
Mexico Croatia. Ya Croatia oguwangula ogwo omupiira.
Brazil agenda kuba Cameroon 3-1.
Spain enoonya record omanye kuva mu kibiina nga bafunyemu ka point. Kati Spain yaguwangula.
Babadde bannaffe abo nga batubuulira bye basuubira okuva mu kikopo ky'ensi yonna. Bajeti ya 2014-15 enaatera okuteekebwa mu nkola. Wabula oluvannyuma lwa minisita w'ebyensimbi okugisoma omwezi guno, bannayuganda abamu balabika nga si basanyufu. Mu bano mwe mulina ono gwe ngenda okukulekera. Nze Hatimana Lugwa Sekaya tuddemu olw'enkya tova ku NTV weeraba.
NTV, turning on your world.
Sometimes children have amazing ideas, but they can lead to tough stains. And for tough stains, there's new Omo Fast Action. Its super fast cleaning technology removes stains fast. New Omo, no one removes tough stains faster.
Today's highlight with
nice and lovely body lotion.
Would you like to have some chamomile tea? It's nice. It makes sissy guys like you calm down.
You owe me respect, Max. You owe me respect. Who the hell do you think you are? I will calm down, but only after I tell you what I have to say.
Don't you yell at me!
Calm down, Max.
Because you're in my house!
Max, what was that all about?
What?
Who was the guy?
Oh, nobody. Just a friend, that's all. Well, let's go to bed. It's late. No, just
Do you take me for a fool?
You bring out the best in me.
New and improved Nice and Lovely Body Lotion. The 24-hour skin moisturizer that's your skin's best friend.
The best in me.
And the change of government won't stop a thing. I've run out of fingers counting the number of multinationals setting up here. What about the 3 companies that announced their plans to launch last week? I say they're shortly. Me, I'd be looking to sell. At what price? More. Much, much more. I don't know who you are or how you know these things, but one thing I'm sure of, you're in the wrong job. Here, call me tomorrow at 9 o'clock in the morning. I'd like to hear more from you.
Are you ready for your big break? The East African, understanding the region.
You're watching Morning at NTV.
Some people dream of great accomplishments while others stay awake and accomplish them. Welcome to Morning at NTV. My name is Brian Londo, live from the Kampala Serena Hotel rooftop, making sure that your Tuesday morning is going to be absolutely fantastic. Wherever you're joining us from, whether online, in Uganda, or in the US, or Europe, or the rest of the world, make sure you go to youtube.com/NTV Uganda /live and get the latest, not just in what's hot the press this morning, but also the big story, everyday life, and the sport, especially what's happening. Let's get started with the question of the day. So as usual, Facebook is open, Morning at NTV. Go there, about 20,000 people on that page, and like the page, invite your friends to like it too. You can also follow us on Twitter at Morning at NTV. Tag us at MBGo, at Mebkeb, at Joel Senyonyi, at Dakabachigongo, and at Kasiat. Of course, at NTV Uganda, feel free to tag. You can also go to the SMS platform, just type the word Morning at NTV, and of course your answer. First 5 respondents will each walk away with a mag from Morning at NTV. Mabel is at the NTV studios at the International Conference Center. Mabel, one of probably the most awesome matches I've ever watched at the World Cup. Cameroon against Brazil, and I know for you guys I've already packed. But as you're downloading the trouble and the sadness that England caused you, what did you think of Cameroon's performance yesterday?
Let me first correct you, Brian. We have not packed already. We are still left with one more game against Costa Rica. So we shall see what will happen there. Obviously, I was one of those who thought Cameroon wouldn't do anything yesterday. After all the squabbles in their camp and they had lost all games, not scoring anything, I just thought they would just, they would just allow the Brazilians a walkover. But clearly, that wasn't the case. Well, thank you for joining us today, the 24th day of June 2014. This is Morning at NTV. Now, continuing the show with the stories making headlines, security measures have been enhanced at Parliament. Police writes to court seeking advice on how to handle piglets, and the High Court throws out a petition by gay activists.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji and Brian Mulondo.
Thank you for joining us. My name is Mabel Kebirunji. Parliament has now turned into some sort of fortress with access only after rigorous security checks. The enhanced security measures which took effect yesterday followed an incident last week when two youths smuggled 2 piglets into the Parliament main parking lot. There were concerns about the safety of members of Parliament and staff in the wake of terrorist attacks in neighboring Kenya. Now, following the beefed-up security, some MPs say the new measures are uncalled for since Parliament is a public place and access to it should not be made too difficult. Maurice Ochol has that report from Parliament.
Security was unusually tight at Parliament, and legislators and Parliament staff had to undergo rigorous security measures that they had not witnessed before they reported for duty earlier in the day. Police officers asked everyone seeking access to Parliament to register and be subjected to thorough checks and their cars as well. This resulted into long queues and a traffic snarl-up. In a fit of anger and frustration, one of the MPs decided to block the Parliament's main gate with his car.
And for them to restrict entrance to Parliament is not adequate for any Ugandan.
Indeed, some of the legislators criticized the enhanced security measures, saying they were not only uncalled for, but also time-wasting.
If someone has come to Parliament on an issue which affects the constituency, then he has a right to access me, even to come wherever he has come from.
That congestion, where the checking is taking place, is deadly. Suppose some suicide bomber comes and explodes in the line.
And for others, this was a reactionary method of keeping security, yet it was more helpful to be proactive.
No, they should sit down, go back to the drawing board and ensure that they devise a very friendly method that could make people still access Parliament. Of course, security concerns are important, but it should not in any way affect Parliament.
But Parliament spokesperson Helen Kawesa says the new security measures are necessary following last week's where 2 youths took advantage of the laxity in the security and smuggled 2 piglets into the parliamentary premises.
And this is resulted in 2 more thorough checks for everybody who is accessing Parliament, restrictions into who accesses, which vehicles now can access the Parliament.
Access has now also been restricted to the nearby twin towers that house President's office staff, the Vice Presidency and the Office of the Prime Minister. Earlier, there were unconfirmed reports that the elite Special Forces Command that is in charge of President's security would take over Parliament's security.
When the comprehensive report is presented to Parliament, to the Speaker and to the Clerk to Parliament and the Parliamentary Commission, we will be able to communicate to the public, because they are also key stakeholders in this activity, as to the new developments in place.
At least 6 police officers who were manning the main Parliament gate on the day the piglets were sneaked into Parliament have since been suspended and face charges of negligence of duty before Police Disciplinary Committee. Maurice Ochol, NTV at Parliament.
Well, they had a noisy debut at Parliament, and while out of sight, they are still a puzzle. The police has written to court to advise them on how to handle the piglets being treated as exhibits in a case in which 2 activists who brought them to Parliament have been charged. Ernest Wisdom Chionga reports.
Their entry into Parliament was dramatic, and now so is their continued stay in police custody. So we put the question that many would like to ask the police: where are the piglets?
We will not tell you. You know, we don't always tell you where our exhibits are, do we? We don't tell you.
As they protect the exhibits, the police remain puzzled on how to handle them, prompting a letter seeking guidance from the courts.
We have written to court to guide us on how we should manage these piglets, whether they can be disposed of, or whether we should be able to find another way of disposing of them in a way that will not affect our investigations.
The 6 police officers arrested last week for alleged negligence after the piglets were smuggled into the precincts of Parliament are yet to know their fate.
Recommendations will be made by the Professional Standards Unit on whether they should go on criminal charges of neglect of duty or whether they should go for disciplinary charges.
While the question of how the piglets made it to Parliament may be causing a storm, so is how they were handled by the law enforcement officers as well as activists.
They could be ignorant, like some of the MPs you saw on TV. Maybe they also don't know that that was a violation of the animal rights.
Animal rights activists say they would want to offer free medical services to the impounded animals whose rights seem to be neglected.
We had actually even thought, bringing, the piglets here and, treating them, but, we can't get them.
The activists have promised to follow up on the condition of the animals. Sources reveal the piglets have since been taken to Kabale Police Training School in Masindi and could ply the Kampala-Masindi route if they are needed in court. Ernest Wisdom Chionga, NTV.
Not had the last of that case of the piglets. The High Court in Kampala has thrown out a petition by gay rights activists and ruled that State Minister of Ethics and Integrity Simon Lokodo illegally stopped a pro-gay meeting in NTV in 2012. Justice Stephen Musota ruled that the minister acted in public interest to protect moral standards since the meeting was intended to promote sex practices. In an interview with NTV, Minister Lokodo welcomed the ruling, saying it has strengthened his resolve to fight homosexual practices in the country.
In February 2012, State Minister of Ethics and Integrity Reverend Father Simon Lokodo went with the police and closed a meeting of gay activists at a hotel in Entebbe and later in Kampala. Subsequently, 4 gay rights activists, Pepe Julian Onzema, Frank Mugisha, Jacqueline Kasha and Geoffrey Ogwaro, petitioned court challenging the minister's actions. They said it infringed on their constitutional right to assembly, freedom of speech and expression. But High Court Judge Stephen Musota has ruled that the minister acted in public interest to protect morals since the meeting was for promoting same-sex practices. Court also ruled that it was an illegal assembly since the participants were engaged in illegalities by distributing literature on same-sex and encouraging the participants to have self-esteem and confidence in their same-sex orientation. Justice Musota added that the Constitution permits a limitation to the enjoyment of human rights if they prejudice the rights of others. Court then directed the complainants to pay damages to the Attorney General and Minister Lokodo for the time and resources spent in the 2 years of litigation. Father Lokodo welcomed the ruling, saying it has strengthened his efforts to fight homosexuality and gay practices.
This is going to curtail anybody from socializing, grouping, congregating with this agenda. This agenda is automatically publicized by this ruling.
Father Lokodo, who is also a key leader of anti-homosexuality efforts, has vowed to do all it takes to stop the promotion of gay practices.
I will still again keep my ears on the ground, available for my patriotic Ugandans who, on noticing that there is an activity of the same type going on, notify me. I will certainly spare no breath but to reach there and advise them to leave and go home, as I did it the other time.
Last week, the United States government slapped travel bans on some Ugandans they said were human rights violators. He is at the forefront of fighting homosexuality, but Lokodo is not bothered by the possible travel bans he could face.
If they deny me going abroad, really I will not suffer. I know I will lose nothing. But also, it will be unfair. They are free to move, and why should I not be free to move?
The US also cut aid to some sectors, save for health, and suspended a joint military exercise with the UPDF following the signing of the anti-gay law. Since President Yoweri Museveni publicly signed the anti-homosexuality bill into law in February, Uganda has received a backlash from the West through aid cuts.
The outsiders cannot dictate to us. This is our country, this is our society, it is our future, it is not anybody's future. Uganda is very rich, we don't need aid. In fact, aid is part of the problem.
The donors argue that the new law violates human rights. The law slaps a 14-year jail sentence for homosexual acts and a life sentence for aggravated homosexuality involving an HIV-positive person, minors, and the disabled. Solomon Serwanja, NTV.
Morning at NTV. Those were the headlines here from the studio. We now cross over to Simon, Joel and Brian to find out what's making news in the papers today. Good morning, gentlemen.
But stand by how? I don't have...
Good morning, Simon. Yes, you are on air.
What am I supposed to...
Good morning,
yes,
Simon.
A very good morning, Mabel. Yes, it's the, what? 24th day of June 2014. And yes, coming to you on this wonderful Tuesday morning with this edition of Morning at NTV's Press Review. Have a wonderful morning as you just stay tuned, don't blink. We'll be coming right at you with what's making it the headlines in the papers this morning. Good morning once again and welcome to Morning at NTV's Press Review. Yes, we are looking at what's making it the headlines this morning. My name is Simon Kasiate. I am joined by my good old friends Brian and Joel. Good morning, good people, and how does it feel to be here once again on this slightly overcast Tuesday morning, but certainly not wet and cold like yesterday's?
You are taking long without using that word. Overcast. It's very cold, eh?
No, yeah, the weather demands that I use certain words as opposed to the obnoxiously gazumped words that you already... Yes, Joel, what's making it the headlines this morning from where you are seated?
Interesting. The Daily Monitor here, top story, Museveni says, I will floor opposition come 2016. I like what the lizard here seems to say. So you are going to stand again in 2016? Because...
Wait a minute. You mean it is still in anyone's doubt that President Museveni may or may not stand in 2016? Unless there is what we call a force majeure, which can only be equated to his death before then, and God forbid. But this man, like day follows night, like it rises from the east and sets in the west. President Museveni will stand in 2016. And I hasten to add 2021. Watch my word.
His Excellency the President has been quite escapist about this particular issue. Whenever he's asked, are you going to stand? He says, well, we'll cross the bridge when we get there, and that kind of thing. Yeah.
I was in Jinja on Sunday to attend a huge function, the 60th celebration of the Jinja School of Nursing and Midwifery, which is incidentally as old as the Narubare Dam where ESCOM operates and generates power, all of them commissioned in 1954. And the President was there, and the area member of parliament, Honorable Moses Grace Barieku, said, and I quote, Mr. President, you know you are my sole candidate, and that one is without a doubt. And the President gave him a thumbs up. In fact, for me, I also want to be the sole candidate in this constituency. So clearly you can see that there is now absolutely no doubt. And of course the crowd cheered in approval. So, is there anyone who still doubts that President Museveni will stand in 2016?
The point was that he has been playing all these escapism games for a long time. But now we don't need to ask him that question anymore. Literally every journalist that interviews him will ask him that question. Will you stand? Will you stand? It's like, I have nothing to lose. I'll go back to Rachitura and take care of my cows. But now we do not need that question again. He has made it clear.
Other times he says, well, it is Ugandans that will decide and that kind of thing. I always find that odd, that you will say, well, people will determine and that kind of thing. You know, politicians have mastered the art of saying, me, I don't want, but my people want. I'm thinking...
we have been going through a regular opinion polls by what otherwise would be described as authentic pollsters. And all these opinion polls have been clear in their findings that President Museveni is by far the most popular politician to take the presidency of this country going forward. So even if it were not for anyone pushing him to stand, just these opinion polls themselves are an indicator that he will, one, stand, but he also expects to reap big from these elections.
Being popular is not a reason good enough for one to stand as president. Actually, it's good
but
that
it is in this country.
No, but you see, it's good that we need to get a point where people live when they are still wanted. That's something we need to
Let me tell you something about, you know, Joel, one of these days, after we've done this for about, what, 4 years, 5 years, you'll get calls coming to you. So you speak very well on TV, you look nice with your, you know, a French cut, and all that. What you do now? First get married, then we shall take you for the big elective post. You will get all these pressures coming to you. I can tell you. So popularity has a way it plays in wooing people into getting married. So I can tell you.
Make a comeback. I promise. But you see, as His Excellency the President says, I will floor the opposition. Professor Gilbert Bukenya, your good friend, says I will be part of the united force to remove Museveni from power.
Well, I will have this discussion more with Professor Gilbert Mukenya, who incidentally followed me on Twitter yesterday, and I immediately followed him back. So Professor Gilbert Mukenya here, I want to believe it's not a parody account, but what I saw down was this is the authentic account of Dr. Gilbert Bukenya, the MP for Busiro. You know, I immediately followed him, and I'm looking forward to having an interaction.
Tweets from Bukenya
intercourse with him.
assigned GB.
You see, he's tired of people telling him there's a young man there that said who keeps talking things about you. He wants to get the first-hand information so that you can have a taste of your medicine. But let me read something here that Professor Bukenya says. He says that what has spoiled governance in this country is giving out money to people, but not showing them how to make the money. Interesting.
I think to that extent, I want to agree strongly with Professor Gilbert Bukenya. I know him at a very personal level. Gilbert Bukenya, even as a friend,
follow him on Twitter.
No, even before that, he would never give you even 1 shilling. Like many politicians would do when they find the marauding journalists and all that. At least my colleagues in the profession
will tell you. And they failed to get some money out of it.
Well, not
Kudos to you, Professor.
Oh, you're trying to get back at me.
No.
All I know is that he went around this country, traversing the country, teaching people how to be economically sustainable through the use of agriculture. And let's give credit where it's due.
And the rice
this upland,
he can be appointed executive director of NADS.
That is if he's willing to take up that position. If he may think that is a demotion for him. A man who was vice president
now
now
leading.
leading.
Put a military man next to him, and things he will still not know the road to the kitchen.
But Professor Gilbert Bukenya, you remember, you used to have a whole brigade of PGB. By that time, it was called. Now it is as vice president. But of course, there were also cases where he somehow sneaked away from them. You know, those instances are played out in the newspapers. One day he sneaked out of them. So he's not a very. He's not a guy that you actually take him for face value. He's a little deeper than you actually think. But that's Gilbert Bukenya for you. Let's wait to see whether his threat comes to pass, that he will be one of the forces to host President Museveni come 2016.
Well, the picture on the front of the Daily Monitor, security tightens at Parliament following the pig fiasco. And, you know, this morning I was rewatching that, and I thought, why were these guys even dragging the pigs on the floor? It was...
I think human rights activists, animal rights activists, they are going to, and they should come out very strongly. Number one, these animals were cruelly whatever, and then they are piglets. They are not yet of mature age. They shouldn't be showing their faces on. I mean, like, they are piglets.
Well, they're not showing their faces.
No, they were showing them. No, they were showing their faces. So they should put a blur around their face. I mean, we don't show kids who are involved in such a fiasco on TV. So I'm not saying, of course, human beings should have the same rights as swine. Just take that for the nuisance value that it is. But going to the issue
what's special about this story is that some MPs are complaining that there was tight security at Parliament.
No, actually, that's not their complaint. The complaint is the delay. Because, you know, they were taking 30 minutes to 1 hour, you know, for one to get through the gate and eventually get to their office.
And I've always asked you on this show, do these people who are actually searching and all that know exactly what they are searching for?
They are looking for pigs, incidentally.
You know,
in this
now you expect the pig in someone's briefcase,
which is unfortunate.
No, and also, I also believe that you see terrorism.
Microwaves from supermarkets
in their
big bags.
Yes. No, listen.
So like a piglet can fit.
I mean, if a woman's bag poured right there, you would be surprised what you come out, a jerry can,
spanners, what?
Benson, a little baby. So, but anyway, getting back to the, you know, the gist of the matter, isn't this some form of knee-jerk reaction? I mean, isn't Parliament being terrorized here? And the essence of terrorism is that I make you do things that you otherwise would not do, that are not in line with your daily work of things. And that's why I always say I prefer to adopt the Israeli model. They bomb a bus on the streets of Tel Aviv. It hardly happens. I don't think it will happen in recent times. But the moment that happens, they clean the carnage, immediately start using the place and act like nothing happened. So that defeats the mentality of the terrorists. So if you are going to show now, these young boys have actually shown that they can shake an entire legislative assembly. They have been in the news. That's what they wanted. They are famous now. I mean, they are like this...
piglet boys.
Yeah. It's like only that we have a very short memory. I'm not sure many of you remember this young lawyer, Karamaji, who went and removed the speech from a guy making it. I am expecting one of these days to come and remove these papers, especially if I make derogatory remarks about him, because I think he was a very uncultured, ill-bred young man. He can come for these newspapers and tear them. That's when you will understand the difference between him and the Muchiga.
You know, Ken Luchams the other day was talking about how the policemen that were arrested should not be blamed because they are very nice to them, they don't check them. You don't say that. You don't say
if
that.
you are John Ken
I'm
Duchamuzi,
glad the piglet
if you are
came
John
up.
Ken Duchamuzi, you can say that and a little worse. What do you expect of John Ken Duchamuzi?
The man.
Anything better than that?
Interesting.
He
I think
surprises you when he makes some of these remarks.
Now, I was quite surprised
and I don't really want to use this analogy, but pun intended. What do you expect of a pig but a grant?
Like that?
How? What? Yeah.
No, what do you expect of a pig but a grant? I mean, if John Ken Duchamuzi says that and surprises you, no, we're only being very honest here.
All right, Messenger here says militarizing NADS is wrong. We have seen the army fail in many other ways, so, you know, sending them to NADS, you see, at the end of the day, we are seeing a breakage of the system.
The national ID system is working well now that the army is in
It
charge.
is actually yet to work well.
I am about to get my national ID, gentlemen.
Ah, good
I
for
do
you.
not know
Are you
about
Ugandan, you guy?
Yes.
How long did it take you to register?
Just a day.
Just-
I got my forms, went to fill them in.
No, I mean the process of feeding in the data and that kind of thing.
I must
By
also
Wednesday-
say that
by Thursday I should
we
have my
also
card.
and the bulk
You've not answered the
of
question.
So you people go and get your
Yeah, we
national
should
ID.
have
I'm also going to say, let me also
Yes.
let me gloat about this. You see, we as a responsible and very articulate corporate citizen called ESCOM, we did invite registration of
To your
national
workplace.
IDs to our workplace.
Yeah.
These guys who are operating in the Jeru Town Council, they heed our call. They came down there and registered hundreds of ESCOM staff. And within a month, they said we'll be getting our national IDs.
Yeah.
I mean, it can get better. You don't really have to go and
should,
queue up on your
without a
village.
doubt.
Corporate companies can invite
Churches
these
should,
people.
on Sundays, churches should welcome people because most
Absolutely.
of us go there. And you know, this is, I've come to a point where this should not be.
Because we
political.
all claim to be
It should
very
not be.
big.
We need the IDs without a doubt.
Because these
No,
guys
we
are
just need
open
to see
between 8 and
expeditious
5,
ways.
and I am away from home by 8, and I'm never home until close to midnight. So there's no chance that a person like with my kind of lifestyle
When do you get
will
to be with
be
your family?
able to attend.
Yeah. And they even work on Sundays, so
Absolutely.
which is good. So, yeah, go and get your national ID.
Without
Joe.
a doubt, I'm going to get one.
This
Especially
morning-
since I'm a Ugandan.
Especially your
and,
16-year-old cousin.
My
We
what?
need him to vote
Who's that one now?
in 2 years.
In 2 years' time, to vote for, well, not the Chankwas
Kenya.
resolution, I'm sure. I don't know. KCCA told to take over PWD's land. It's interesting. We have Peter Kauju coming up on the big story. I hope he'll talk about this and many other issues.
Well, like I said, you know, KCCA has always the propensity of putting up very new bylaws that may catch you for, you know, may catch you unawares. You know, yesterday we were talking about environmental conservation, and you can clearly see that I was keeping my hair in that line. But when I knew that today we have someone from KCCA, I would not take a chance that possibly they are against people keeping hair longer than it actually should be on there, and I'm sure you can see the difference.
No, but
on
we
my
need
head
to.
today.
I mean, I keep seeing these guys who pee on the roadside, and sometimes you want to get a stick and beat the stupidity out of them. You know, hopefully.
Joel, you have
that is
never
an area.
been in a situation.
Oh, come on, give me a break.
Where
Plan
things are
better.
bad.
It is like a heavy downpour finding you somewhere on Upper Colorado Terrace. There is no place you just have to brave it until you arrive.
Yeah,
in
you
Congo
get beaten
bypass.
by the rain. But peeing on the road is uncultured and coarse. It's barbaric. It is just.
Now,
Actually, it's not backwardness. It is backerness one.
Listen, now
that's not
you're
a word.
amazed by people who face the other side and urinate by the roadside. There are even these brazen ones who face the road and put their backside to the fence and face the road.
People have issues. You know, the other day I checked out a guy who was on camera. I mean, he kept walking and discussing. He would ask himself a question, then he answers it, and you know, for a long trek, I'm thinking.
And for some
People
reason,
have
Joel
got
is always at that right place where some of these very bizarre
Those are
happenings are
funny
taking
scenarios.
place.
And
And
another one on the NTV highway, you know, we're going and then this guy is crossing the road and in the middle of the road he stooped low and he began to fasten his shoelaces. I thought, wait a minute, who does that? You know, but eventually he came to his senses.
Invisible. Daily Monitor, of course, every Tuesday I pull out of the Prosper magazine. This guy is actually my hobby. We sat in the same class, Lubega Ali, who is running Swift Safaris and he's talking
And now
about
you're
how
wondering why he turned out the way he did and he turned out the way he did.
Well, the red paper this morning is
Oh,
coming
you
out with
get
a
out
huge
of the
headline. We are aware that Uncle Sam did slap huge and ballistic sanctions on Uganda for the passing of the anti-homosexuality law, which, according to him, is not in tandem with what should be in this kind of day and age. And so a number of issues come in with these sanctions, including a travel ban. And the red paper this morning gives us an insight on who it is in Uganda that will possibly not be able to be welcomed in the United States of America. One of them, and let's go in no particular order: David Bahati, Stephen Tashobia, Simon Lokodo, Rebecca Kadaga, Ofono Opondo, Pastor Martin Semper, Solomon Marie, Michael Chaze, Simon Kasi. Sorry. You know, that's
you
just a
want
wish.
to be banned?
Banned? Let them bring it on yesterday. Yesterday, Egypt, where Secretary of State John Kerry spent the weekend tightening ties between the wonderful democratic government of Egypt. Yesterday, Egypt sentenced 3 Al Jazeera journalists for crime doing their work and accusing them of abetting the Muslim Brotherhood. For that, 2 of them earned 7-year jail sentences, another one 10 years. Never mind that these guys have been in incarceration for over 177 days. And America has not issued not even a word sanction starting with the letter S. What double standards? So Uganda passes a mere law where I have not heard of any single person who has been killed, denied health services or anything because they are gay. And the US of A has said little or possibly just given a slap on the wrist.
The US of gay.
Even that too has done. I mean, I'm waiting for the mother of all sanctions that will wipe away Missouri or Egypt for that matter.
Well, of course, the debate now has been if these journalists say we are CNN, would the US have said anything? The fact, the nature maybe of Al Jazeera conditions them to just
no, but can you imagine the Secretary of State in Cairo strengthening ties with the democratic government of Egypt, where a guy simply moved away from his uniform of field marshal to a mere suit and a bow tie. And all of a sudden, just by mere change of clothes, you have become a full Democrat. I can tell you.
And a day later, they break the democracy.
Exactly. We saw the democracy that was imported into Iraq. We've seen how developed and marvelous Iraq has become. In fact, it has become the proverbial Garden of Eden. You know, that's where the Garden of Eden actually was, Tigris and whatever, those rivers. So we've seen what the US has done to the Garden of Eden. We've seen what they have done to Libya. It's a much better place, obviously, than it was with Saddam, with Gaddafi, according to the United States of America. We've seen Afghanistan. It's a now paradise, so to speak, democratically. Really?
Well, when some of these countries get a cold, we catch a cough, like the cold I have this morning. Hopefully things get better. But look, Nigeria here has actually more stringent laws, you know, anti-gay laws. And literally, like I say, nothing is done. In the US of A, only 14 states actually abet homosexuality. Oh well, their laws are okay with it. The rest of the so many states do not. So double standards, I think we need to do something.
Well,
Word of the day here. This is by Professor Venatius Badiamori, a proposal for university uniform fees. It says it is like government saying it's going to start determining the retail price of sugar. You know, there are proposals that we have a uniform
a uniform for all universities? A uniform for all universities?
That could also work. Uniform tuition fees. And that's not going to happen. Some people do think.
I mean, soon government then will start saying that now there should be a uniform pay for all journalists. Those who work in upscale media houses like the National Media Group must be earning with these little gutter press outfits that are out there. I mean, that is obnoxious. You cannot, no one does that, really. We all provide the same service, yes, the purveyance of information and all that. But there are some media houses that are upstream and others are simply just existing, some of them even in briefcases of individuals. We cannot allow those to have the same kind of pay. Likewise, with same goes for education institutions. They are universities, and then there are things that really posture to be universities.
The good and bad of capitalism.
Well, there we have it.
Well,
the red paper this morning, of course, you know, the usual stories that get me a bit sleazy, and one has really caught my eye. And I want to be really in support of this particular family. This family has had a lot of unfair beatings. I mean, the other day, her younger brother is described as a boy, yet he's His Royal Highness the King. And now, one of these newspapers around this place starts making a fuss and half and puff over the weight or looks of Princess Komuntale. And I think one that is not only an invasion of her privacy, but it's certainly putting her in very bad light. However, she is a bit more cultured than myself. I mean, she's a princess. She went to Facebook and says, come on people, we should not judge each other. We should be spreading love. We should be like that lady who Jesus found by the well. Who she asked, how many husbands do you have? And she replied 5. And then people came in to stone and said, yeah, let he or she who's never cast the first stone. And this is the message that Komuntale is sending out. You know, many Ugandans seem to take other people's business their business. I mean, so what if she's not looking as good as you expect? You don't feed her, you know, whatever. So I think that some people's privacy needs to be. And let's not forget that this is a girl who has gone through a tumultuous life. I mean, you do not know what it means to go through a multi-million wedding that splashed all over the place, only for it to have burst out just like a bubble within a year. That, in fact, I'm impressed that this girl is still alive. I don't think that if I was faced with this kind of emotional distress, I would have, you know, I would stand it.
This would be a good lesson to, you know, I see many times government officials, the way they rebut, they come off as very, vitriolic, you know, but when a young lady like
what
this
does
one,
that mean?
they are very corrosive in their approach. You know, when they are responding, they're very offensive, very abusive. These friends of yours, what are their names? These guys that are, you know, many times when they speak, you're thinking, this guy sounds like he does not have a good head on his shoulders, you know. Pick a lesson from the young lady.
No, for me, she really has taught me a lesson because, you know, I'm not one of those who would rebut a story like that using very kind words. I would certainly now also put a notch higher and we go. If it's rolling in the mud, we roll it. Exactly.
Yeah, but someone told you a lesson. There's a friend of ours. He stopped doing so. I think he realized I've hounded this man enough on Twitter. Let me give him a break.
No, he realized that he was going nowhere.
Opening a can of worms again.
Ministry of Health will be recruiting 2,400 workers to fill posts that were not taken up during last year's recruitment exercise. We've been talking about jobs not being available. Now 2,400 jobs were available during the other year.
Actually, many times jobs are available, but the qualifications. You see, we have this population that is not a quality population, you know, and that is why some jobs keep being re-advertised again and again. And yet we have, you know, masses of people that do not have jobs. So I think we need to invest in our population. Other countries have done that. The likes of Singapore and others, you know, have developed. Why? They have invested in their populations. They have a quality population.
But also the population hits government school, or, you know, that's what the president was telling students of the Ginger Nursing School. He said, look, some universities go up and put up education courses, development studies for that. So when you graduate with development studies, what exactly are you looking at being in this place?
I mean, we have some of our viewers that have done development studies.
And I'm asking them exactly,
what are they developing?
how many of them can actually work within the realms of development studies? But if you graduate as a nurse, as a pediatric nurse, as a
carpenter,
a palliative
a
nurse,
a
carpenter, a tailor. I mean, I have a sister who went to do industrial art and design. She is, by all senses, a tailor, and she's never looked for a job.
But they make quite a bit of money.
She's never looked for a job,
you know?
and she has saved me the whole hassle of looking after her as a female adult.
Yeah.
So,
but many times she bails you out.
Absolutely. But now, when she was going that direction, you know, a tailor, I mean, a girl like you holding, a sewing machine, it was denigrating. They expected her to wear high heels, put on a short skirt, and move around Kampala swinging a bag and earning 200,000 shillings at the end of the month, but living a life of 10 million shillings. That, for me, is something that people need to look very critically at.
Well, the daily, every Tuesday, they pull out of the Rainbow magazine for all our kids, a skating princess, a focus on ballet. Oh, now that some of us who do Sukunda cannot definitely.
There are two phenomena in this town that is going to make parents run crazy. A certain crunchy eat called gorillas and ballet.
By the way, those gorillas,
I've tested those things. They are nice. Eh?
God is watching you. Any adult above 18 who eats gorillas, God is watching you. It is really pure food molestation.
Gorillas, you should pay Kalango here this morning because somebody writes a letter and says Africa must unite for development. Look, until this does happen, you know, because we keep biting each other away, you know, and to keep aid, for example. If we're to unite, we would not need this aid because, you know, since the 60s, we've had over $1 trillion injected into this continent of
ours. And since the 60s, Kwame Nkrumah, Gamal Abdel Nasser, and all those great leaders of Africa, at that time we were talking about African unity. Today, many years down the road, not much has seen of it. Well, let's hope that we keep drumming the message home. Mabel. Indeed, like I said earlier on, Egypt yesterday shocked the journalistic fraternity and yes, much of the so-called developed world when they sent to jail for 7 years and 10 years 3 Al Jazeera journalists for the simple crime, or should I say, for baiting and entrenching the Muslim Brotherhood, which is now a banned political organization in Egypt. That is the story that is trending ferociously on the international arena, including and not limited to, of course, the World Cup raging on in Brazil. But what else do you have in your bag of tricks from the international arena, Mabel?
Websites. This is the website of Al Jazeera, of course, and they talk of outrage as Egypt sentences 3 of its staff to jail for what they call support of the Muslim Brotherhood there. The guilty verdicts were announced yesterday, and one of them, the father, has actually come out to say he's very disappointed with the Egyptian government. Moving on, we have some earthquakes hitting New Zealand and Alaska so far. Reports of damage has not really reached us yet, but we do hope everything is safe. We hope there will be no tsunami afterwards, as is usually the case in those areas that are surrounded by water. On to the BBC page, Iraq, and in Iraq, a key oil refinery has been captured by the rebels, fully captured by the rebels. This is a main oil refinery north of Baghdad. It supplies about a third of petroleum in the country, and now in Iraq there is petrol rationing. And this is a story that we have been talking about, but it's now on the CNN webpage. They say the epidemic is out of control, and this is Ebola in West Africa. They say many people are traveling to the country and out of the country with the virus and are not aware they actually have the Ebola virus. So it's something I guess the world is now paying close attention to. Last week we did see that about 300 people had been affected by the Ebola virus. Now, this is also another story of the Egyptian lady, Miriam Ibrahim, who was sentenced to death for converting to Christianity from Islam. She was pregnant when she was arrested, and she gave birth to her daughter while she was in prison. This is her husband here with her daughter, and a picture of them when they got married. Well, she has now been released, and the husband, who is an American citizen, says he is obviously going to take the family out of the country. But we are glad that at least she has not been put to death, because she was sentenced to death under the Sharia law in Sudan. Again here, this is on the BBC page, there's an outcry over the sentencing of Al Jazeera's trio. And Simon did talk a little bit about this. John Kerry is in the Middle East region. Here is a picture of him with the president of Iraq, with the Prime Minister of Iraq, Nouri al-Malik. And he says the support America is going to give is going to be intense and sustained, but he wants the country to be united. We did see that the Iraqi forces are actually leaving the border posts, like the one of Jordan is now fully in control of the Islamists. Militants. Michael Schumacher's medical records have been stolen. Apparently, they are being sold to media houses, but a representative of the family says whoever buys them and publishes them will be sued. And some of them, he says, are actually fake. This is a bit sad. I think someone is in hospital sick and people decide to leak his medical records. Now, this is especially for Brian and probably all those who do not like England. Yes, the UK is saying they can actually learn lessons from the World Cup disaster, and the British Olympic Committee Association will speak to Roy Hodgson, to him and his staff, to try to learn the lessons from England's disastrous World Cup campaign as they prepare for the 2016 Olympics that will take place in Brazil. Now, this is where I think many countries will get it wrong. We shall see how many medals Italy will have, and I will promise to remind Brian when I meet him later on in the show. We shall now be taking a short break, but Morning at NTV continues.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Mulondo.
Are you and I ever gonna have a chance to be sisters?
You want the baby to have my name?
Would that be okay?
Son, I'm happy you came. Yes, especially since I thought you were shunning all things Newman. I have my own reasons for showing up.
What did you say about him?
I'm sorry, attempted rape.
Okay, look, whatever you think you know about him, you don't know his heart.
If there is a way to make me feel more miserable, you will instinctively find it.
You gave up the one woman you loved, and now you're having a hard time figuring out how to move on?
I can't imagine who would want to hurt a good man like you.
Okay, you know what? I don't need you telling me how to feel about Lily.
Are you pregnant? No. Then why are you trying to alienate Tyler?
Has something happened between the two of you?
Are you afraid that I'm gonna do something to ruin your marriage, or that you will?
Why don't we have a party? I'll bring Nikki and bring your siblings. How's that?
Now, what are you gonna do? You gonna blackmail them this time, or are you gonna bribe them?
Looks like Mommy's not the only one who knows how to make up a story.
Did you know that more than 6 million Ugandans use the fastest growing media in the world? In fact, more than 5,000 join Facebook every week, thousands follow trends on Twitter, and many more use several other social media platforms. So, are you thinking smart about the power of online media platforms? Let You Go Uganda offer you business professional social media training, strategic online concept development, and effective online advertising solutions.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Mulondo.
Thank you for joining us this 24th day of June here at the Serena Hotel. We now cross over to Simon for today's big story. Hello, Simon, once again. Whom are you speaking to today?
Yes, hello, Mabel. Of course, you know very well that one of these days, if you go shopping for those England earrings on the streets of Kampala from your usual vendors around Benkiwanka Street, you stand to be arrested by Kampala Capital City authorities simply because you are abating an illegal activity which is keeping vendors on the streets. So this morning we'll be discussing that and many other happenings around Kampala Capital City Authority, including and not limited to all the other bylaws that seem to take us for a ride when they come into effect. So this morning we have the spokesperson of Kampala Capital City Authority, Peter Kauju, who will be, of course, enjoying the next 20 minutes of the big story with. Stay with us. On March 19th of this year, Kampala Capital City Authority started the process of evicting vendors from the old and new taxi parks in a bid to clean up the city to match the standards of other modern cities in the world. And now, of course, you remember that a few weeks ago, the Kampala Capital City Authority announced that it will start prosecuting both street vendors and buyers who are bet hawking. And of course, we've seen that coming to bite. About some 7 people were arrested, prosecuted, charged, and even convicted and sentenced to 1.5 hours of community service. This came as a shocker to many people who always buy their merchandise from vendors. Vendors come in very handy for the most part. One, they give very good bargains, but also on the other hand, being checked and free.
Morning, Simon. How are you doing?
This lady that is selling bananas off her big basket, or even avocados or mangoes, we see them driving away with that merchandise, and for some part we see them consuming those goods.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Mulondo. You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Mulondo.
I'm going to blow your mind and I'm going to twist your taste buds. The flavors are already coming together. I can feel them. Very lovely, very appetizing, very healthy. Remember, the way you see it, the way you like it, is the way you get it from my kitchen to your kitchen.
But we carry on.
You're watching
just
Morning
right there,
at
Peter.
NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji and Brian Mulondo.
Sorry, Peter, I have to. We apologize greatly to our viewers. That was a small little technical hitch for which we take full responsibility. But yes, I must say now we're back to normal programming. And yes, with me here I've got the spokesperson of the Kampala Capital City Authority, Mr. Peter Kauju. This has never happened. It's the first time that we're having a technical hitch on the big story. Is it something to do with the Kampala Capital City Authority or the character of Peter Kauju?
Probably you have some garbage hidden somewhere, and so and now that they know that the garbage collector is here, so they're thinking how to go off with it.
Pete, hawking is considered an activity that ends the city.
It is.
But away from hawkers, really, is this city of ours clean anyway? To the extent that we can claim the extra dirt that we see is as a result of hawking, and hence the high-handedness in banning it.
Well, first of all, we are not removing hawkers because they bring dirt to the city. The thing is that if you want to transact business in the city, you need to go to gazetted areas like shops, like markets, like restaurants, for you to be able to carry on with your activities. Again, if you're going to come and sell your merchandise, you have a collection of socks, you have a collection of earrings, you have a collection of underwear and matchboxes. You should not be infringing on the rights of other people, because you'll find that most of the times they actually sell this merchandise on walkways, on pavements, and there you step on some of this merchandise here. You might even be carried away into the drains. So what we are saying is that there are people who are paying trading license. It's not little money. We range from about 80,000 to about 450 annually.
But we are told that those who pay trading license, in fact, are the ones who get branches through vendors, so that they outwit their competitors. In other words, Simon, I have my shop that has cigarettes and merchandise and all the other knickknacks in an enclosed gazetted kiosk. But then I have Peter, who is my vendor, put it out there so that he also acts as the first point of call. In other words, I'm extending my reach, bringing services closer to the people.
Not even bringing services closer to the people, but I think also trying to survive in business.
Exactly.
Because you have some people who are not paying, and they are, they are selling very freely on the walkways and and so we are telling them this is wrong. We know that you're paying, you're doing genuine business, so we have to support you and ensure that what you're paying actually serves you better. So that's why we're getting people off the streets. But before we could do that, we actually did some bit of scouting for several markets that we have. We have over 65 markets in the city, and we discovered some available places, and we communicated to our people previously who were selling on streets, and we told them that you can actually go register in these markets and start work there. But because there was so much used to making quick sales on the streets, they don't pay anybody to operate on the streets, so they were able to resist. But several of them actually moved to these markets. We also came up with...
do you get reports of them doing much better than they were doing on the streets? Certainly not.
In markets? I certainly think they are doing much better.
But Pete, there are other vendors
better you earn little when you actually conduct here, when you're doing the right thing.
But Pete, there are vendors also who... I do not know what is special about them. Newspaper vendors, and this touches at the core of my business as a journalist. But newspaper vendors are on the street, and some of them also will have a packet of cigarettes, will have some matchboxes and all that. What is special about newspaper vendors that is not the same with the guy who's going to send me my next underwear when I need it?
Okay, world over, if you travel, you'll actually see that papers are actually bought on the streets. Yeah, you'll find stands, you'll find stalls where you can quickly pick a paper as you walk along the street. So we have a special arrangement. Actually, we have an MOU with newspaper vendors through, of course, the big media houses that that print these papers. So they have conditions, and we do not allow them to sell any extra items except newspaper products and magazines.
But we also know that in cities, I mean, wonderful cities. I've been in Toronto and I found a guy roasting corn and sausages, frankfurters on the street when you were in Hamburg.
But not everywhere.
Yeah, but
not everywhere.
But we don't see some of these vendors. I mean, the other day you were running after Mr. Jones, this guy who's got his meals on wheels. And I'm asking myself, are we going to have an artificially immaculate city? I mean, vendors and the city have been one and the same thing.
True.
It's just like finding wheelbarrow pushers to help in carrying luggage from one place to another in a city. How can we get rid of these things and then claim that we have a people-oriented city? And those are the concerns of some of the people who are against this move.
Yeah, that is very true. The city belongs to the people. And we as the city administration are actually there to ensure that there is order, there is sanity in the city. We are certainly not chasing people out of the city, but we want to regulate the way they conduct business in the city. We are already thinking of some provisions, like maybe, gazetting up some areas, gazetting up some days, and say maybe we should have a bazaar every Saturday, every Saturday of the week. Get a people to some area, and then they can, like a boot sale. Those are some of the kind of things. But otherwise, you will not allow people to come and, they are self-regulating. They place charcoal stoves everywhere they want. They are, it's just not right. But we're trying to think of all these provisions.
I mean, we can see that some thinking is going on at Kampala Capital City Authority, and without a doubt, but we only wait, of course, for the implementation. This is a city where I, Simon, who may be, I mean, I have a bicycle, just so you know, but I can hardly ride it because there are no cycling lanes in this city. There are no pedestrian walkways to speak about in any sense. And you are here revamping roads, some of them, except, of course, my good road of Robert Mugabe in Buya, for which Benjamin Kalumba must go if he doesn't fix it. How are you able to do the little things of chasing away vendors, and you are blind to the bigger things that would create a good city in terms of outlook? Pedestrian walkways that are properly gazetted, bus lanes that are there so that we reduce on congestion, and also cycling lanes so that we reduce on the carbon footprints that many, I mean, can you imagine? I have a bicycle, but I'm unable to ride it to the city, even when I want to, because I'm afraid I have no way I can ride this bicycle. Of course, you know the menace of border borders. That is a world phenomenon that is only typical of Uganda.
Simon, the city has been in this kind of state for about 4 decades, actually over 4 decades. These are 40 years. And so many things went wrong. This is a city where it was normal for you to find, garbage on the street and nobody cares. Someone walks with I
mean, the other day, one of your trucks was overflowing with the garbage, and there was a dog carcass on top, which when the truck braked abruptly, the dog carcass fell on the bonnet of
I would need to double check that, Simon.
No, honestly, I was driving right behind that Pajero, I forget the number plate, and in that Pajero was Muzungu, who was extremely scandalized because a dog carcass fell right there. I mean, that's the state of our city.
Yeah, but the thing is that since we came in, this is the 3rd year running, we had to start somewhere. I am very, very sure, I'm wondering whether you have actually forgotten the kind of infrastructure we had in the city center, the roads that we had, the potholes that we had. But we've been able to start somewhere. We've fixed over 144 kilometers of road in the city, and the work is continuing. We have set a standard. Every road we are working on now. We've done several roads in, you can go to Nakasero area,
I'm using the Ginger Road,
Buganda Road, Ginger Road that we are now working on. Yes. We should actually be winding up, I think, next month. We do the carriageway, we work on the walkway, we work on the drains, and we work on the beautification as well as street lights. So that is the standard we are setting, and we are not going to look back. So forget the things of doing just the carriageway, and you won't have the walkway. The challenge again we have had, as you mentioned, is some people abusing the rights of others. I mean, we have a walkway. Why should I have a border riding on a walkway? Why should I have a vendor selling their merchandise on a walkway? These are some of the challenges.
I'll take you back to the issue of vendors and you trying to regulate how they do business in this city. We've seen the works of your law enforcement officers. Peter, in all honesty, I have not seen a brute force like the way your law enforcement officers are. One wonders why these guys have to act in such a brutal manner. Is it a case of Newton's third law of motion, that for every action there is an equal but opposite reaction? No. Are Kampalans so averse to being arrested that you guys have to use a very high-handed fist to carry out arrests? And with that kind of high-handedness, one begs to ask, what kind of training do these guys get, if at all, before they become registered KCCA law enforcement officers? Or you just pick any thick-chested vagabond that is moving around and just bring him on, dress him up in yellow and send him on the streets?
Yeah, Simon, I must admit we have had cases of high-handedness, especially among our enforcement. But we have also not sat back. As I speak to you now, we have had about 50 of them actually leave service. But the thing is that we have embraced training for them. They are undergoing professional training, of course, by several agencies here in the city. And we have communicated to them on a daily basis. I actually speak to them because they are part of what I do in communication, because they handle, they deal with the public. They deal with the public. So we are telling them we must offer excellent, customer service. We exist because of because of the clients.
Don't they find that a travesty that you're talking about?
They certainly don't. You will be shocked.
You're talking about customer service when you are arresting a guy that is resisting arrest.
Simon, it doesn't hurt if you have done something wrong. I come to you and say, hey, my name is Peter Kauju. I work for KCCA. You have just stepped on the green belt. What you have done is wrong, so I must go with you to court. Those are the kind of standards we are setting. And then
I show you the middle finger and try to run away, and you have to grab me and hold me by the trousers. What you call jack.
No. Certainly, we have seen that happen, and we want to put it behind us. We want to create. We want to create a good force that is that has a human face.
But you see, Peter, some of the things must be town-bound. You have done 3 years. Some of us are impatient. When you came in here, we welcomed you with roses and kisses. And we knew that you were going to turn this place just like this. And 3 years down the road, we see a slow, deliberate progress, yes, but it's certainly not moving at the speed at which we expected or want from you. Aren't you testing our patience, like those of us who want serious cracking of the whip?
Not really, Simon. We have made a lot of progress, and we are continuing. I must assure you on national TV.
Yes, you must give us some timelines here. I mean, when shall we?
There are timelines, but like I said, we've been able to terminate several people. There are others whose cases are actually still ongoing. When you commit when you commit an offense or you do something that is not up to the measures we expect.
So you are saying that
during
there's
the execution,
corporate governance at the Kampala Capital City
that is what we are executing.
That where employees are judged on the merit of what they do, and there is always feedback from the customers.
Yes, and one thing, Simon, just before we leave this point, is we've been able to come up with uniforms that have numbers as well.
And
so
names?
if you see numbers, because we identify you by that number. Yeah, because if I'm putting on yellow,
it's easier for me to get a name Peter as opposed to a number 6425.
No, but they're just 3 digits. You can also pick and say this is 002. This person has misbehaved in this particular area. We will investigate and we will have this person brought to order. And that is what we are doing.
Pete, you obviously are not a communion of saints at Kampala Capital City Authority.
Yeah.
You are cut from the same society on where we corrupt people, we brigands, we fornicators, we everything are coming from. So we cannot say that all of a sudden when you come in Capital City Authority, then you become a communion of Angel Gabriel and his choir. There are issues of corruption that we hear about every other day.
Yeah.
But we may not put our fingers to them. We know for sure that this road connecting Makerere, Sapporo, Kagwa Road and Kasubi up there first was worked on, and before we knew it, the materials, they had just painted the surface with some bit of tar and a
that
few
is Chimera Road.
I don't know the name of that road. Then it was washed away, and then you came back and redid it, but some money had been lost. I mean, in this particular happening, how do you redeem the money is spent, the money is lost, and the image of the institution?
Thank you very much. Simon, one of the things we have actually put our eyes to is the issue of value for money, especially for the contracts we give out, for the jobs that are done by our staff in-house, our engineers. I must tell you, on that particular road, the company that was that had been given that contract was we terminated that contract, and
because they were not,
because they were doing a shoddy work. They were doing shoddy work, and they were not delivering on the timelines that had been given to them. So we had to retender it, and the case is still ongoing. I may not give you all the details.
So in other words, what we saw as a delay in progression was the retendering and getting a new whatever.
That entire
and you're
process,
satisfied that now finally you've got someone.
We've actually been able to complete the road. Yeah, we got some other contract and we did it, and we've blacklisted, for your information, we've blacklisted over 4 companies in the construction sector for
Peter,
doing bad work.
As we conclude this one, obviously it's one thing to have wonderful laws that are deterrent and that are able to fix the city and make it the kind of city we'll be proud to call our home. But it's also another in terms of enforcement. Yes, you've got an army of law enforcement officers, but I know I am grappling with noise pollution, for example, at my little domicile in Mbuya, occasioned by my neighboring church, Mbuya Pentecostal Church. And I've been grappling with how to stem this avalanche of Pentecostal churches that do not have acoustics in their churches, who spend the most part making noise for productive Ugandans who are trying to catch rest in their homes. I have cried out to you, including your own executive director, who I have spoken to on the phone. But it's because I am Simon, and your executive director can pick my call. What about hundreds other city residents who are grappling with the issue of noise pollution, but are unable to reach you, Peter Kauju, Mr. Kalumba, or even the executive director? How do they get redemption from this kind of thing? You say we shouldn't pollute the city, noise, garbage, everything. But the enforcement seems to be lacking in some areas.
Yeah, thank you very much. Simon, certainly noise pollution is one of the issues we are actually taking on head on. And I'm sure you
it seems to be easier to close a bar than a church.
Not really. We've actually closed churches. We have removed structures for people who are making noise pollution. You've had us prosecute people. Emin Pasha was just among those people, yeah, that were taken to court and all that. But we have a number, we have a hotline for noise pollution.
Share it, Peter, share it.
Which is 0794
0794
66 33 33. These people operate 24/7. If you called them now, it's just maybe you don't have time, but if you called them now, they would actually respond. And we have actually made a lot of progress in this area. I know we may not reach everybody at the time we get, because we are also overwhelmed. You get calls from churches, from
every
people who are neighboring churches.
5 meters there is a church.
There is a church, there are bars, there are all happening areas. But we are moving, and we're also trying to build synergies. We've been building capacity internally, but also want to work with NEMA. We've been able to buy equipment that help us to test the noise levels and decibels and all that. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Peter. You know, time is not on our side, and we do not want some NTV law enforcement officers to kick us out of this place. But for the benefit of our viewers, if you hear anything that is disturbing you in the night, especially those who are waiting and calling for the otherwise omnipotent God who would listen to your heart without you having to make a lot of noise, please call this number 0794 663333. This one I'm even going to hang it at the at my doorstep.
Please do, and we'll be at your doorstep for help.
We're taking a short break. When we return, it's Simon Says. Kampala is, for the most part, our home. Those who live, work, and operate in Kampala, being the capital city of Uganda. It doesn't matter where you're watching us from. It could be in Yumbe, Ajumani, or down in Kisoro, or you're watching us from the comfort of Maraba, Busia, or even as far as Mount Moroto Hotel. No matter where you are, one way or another, you have an interface or a connection to this city. And if everything goes right in this city, by extension, your various little towns, wherever they are, will certainly borrow a leaf and will be livable places that you will enjoy to live in. Kampala Capital City Authority has got a huge and Herculean task. It's a noble task whatsoever to bring sanity to this city. Of course, we as a people have been on for decades without an authority that enforces proper and sane living. Changing such a mindset will certainly not be a walk in the park for them. But it is your support, my support, for their efforts. It's our vigilance to ensure that they also do not overstep their mandate, because it's one thing being a good authority like they claim to be, but it's also another to overstep their mandate and act in the draconian ways we have seen in more cases than one, which cases are being handled by them, or so they say. So in one or another, we must contribute to this serenity and the sanctity of our cities together with the approved authority. And we should, I think, we should stay away from politicizing some of the activities that do take place here. Of course, some of them have got a political tinge. There are issues, and I did not want to go into that with Mr. Peter Kawuji, between the technical arm of Kampala Capital City Authority and the political dimension of it. That is debate for another day. But with that standoff, nonetheless, city work, city sanctification, city cleansing must take place. And it's your role, my role, to play our little small parts in making this city a livable place for all of us to enjoy. And of course, as the heart of Uganda, a country that you should be proud to call home, that certainly should be the driving force in making sure that you make your little contribution by, for example, well, not buying from a street vendor or telling them to go and find a gazetted place to vend their merchandise, or even throwing out that bottle of mineral water after drinking it from your car, or even eating that banana and throwing the peelings on the road, but also respecting the rights of others. If this is a pedestrian walkway, what are you doing being ridden on a border by this guy who you clearly see is riding on a pedestrian walkway? What is the urgency? If you wanted to come early, you should have woken up early, so they say. With that, have a productive morning. Contribute in the best way you can to making this city a better place. It is our collective sum of little contributions that will make the work of people like Peter Kawuju a lot less, and of course, make our city a lot better. Have a wonderful morning and God bless.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Mulondo.
You can bring everybody in parliament as long as they can wake up and vote for their NRM.
As long as the voters exercise their rights to elect their leaders, there was no need for term limits in Uganda.
I know him. I know how he operates. I know how he thinks.
There are ways you can go around these obstacles.
Why should I conduct myself as if I am Muyai?
It's absolutely true. I admired the President Museveni.
Is the ICC a FASCO code targeting African leaders?
You cannot tell me that the whole trouble Kenya had revolved about only 2 individuals.
The money is not in the budget of this financial year.
You can't beat God. You see, God is polygamous also. Look at Jeremiah chapter 31.
The security of this country will largely depend on the contribution that the people make.
What's that?
That document.
Oh, that. Just some business.
I came to apologize. I have no right to interfere in your lives.
I've eliminated the only evidence that links me to Ivan Chinawa's death.
But you didn't have to kill another person.
It's not like I've got anything to hide, Nene. Just go ahead.
Victoria, how is it like to work for Miles Filagazi?
Blood seemed to matter not.
Blood?
Yeah, blood.
I'm responsible for your father's death.
Oda, I no go stop to the singing. No problem. Keep singing. This singing will put you in trouble very soon.
You won't believe it's the boy's father that inflicted such injury on him. Just because he stole 50 naira. 50 naira for that matter. That man should be arrested. Oh, how I wish I could just see that man and give him a piece of my mind. Abigail, I don't care if you're chatting with Barack Obama. When you're at work, you learn how to detach yourself from that phone else to get you into trouble. Whatever. I mean, you should be happy that a pilot is asking your friend out.
My brother, I learned that 3 armed robbers tried to rob a man as he came out of the bank at the junction before the express.
Don't try to be the hero.
You won't kill me. Do you know how long I've been waking you up quietly and you refuse to wake?
Now you can't interrupt someone.
I'd like to pray with you, nurses, being the vessels that the Almighty God has been using to heal his people.
Okay. Can someone please talk to me? What is going on?
Who is she?
See, I hate cheating in my life. I hate cheating and nothing will make me have 50 kobo to that money I already get you.
Hey there, Mr. Krabs! Are you ready to party?
I like to move it. I like to move it. I like to move it. You like to move it.
Wow! Hello, fellow motor enthusiastics.
Oh, Mr. Krabs! Isn't there any way for us to return all of them back to normal?
Hey! How'd he do that?
The Red Ranger's a bigger problem than I thought.
It's time to finish this thing up!
What can I do to make them love me again?
What are you drawing, Kitty?
Mega win!
Hello? King Julian, you are truly inspiring. Ow!
Sponge pot! Nice trick, fantastic.
I was going to my hall, someone came from my back and was
How? Tugenda okwebaka ekiro. Yanga mwami omanyi? Olakeko nange omulundi gw'ogusembayo.
I went to the nurse and I asked why is it that our father is negative and for us we are positive?
Every time I find a story of assault of one person to another, I get disturbed.
Mwayombye ekiro lwaleeta suzeewo lwe bakwokezza. Nazeepoza kimu nti mujja wange yanjokezza.
Kino ekyafa kino kyali kyakulira muno mu lubuto.
The Irene I know just loves music and loves to sing. I've never seen her even smoke a cigarette.
The days of legal trade in slaves are history, following its abolition in the 1800s.
They tie you like this. That's when I started getting past.
Everybody has a story, but yours will only become our story when you share it.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Mulondo.
Thank you for joining us this 24th day of June. And we say happy birthday to Lionel Messi. He scored a wonder goal on Sunday against Iran, and he says it was one of the best moments of his life. It was actually in the 91st minute, and some of us were very upset about that. He turns 27 and turning 28 today. I don't know if you can actually see her face in all this. I think you can actually. This is Solange Knowles, who was trending actually a few weeks back because of should I call it an altercation between her brother-in-law that was posted all over social media in a lift. She is the sister to Beyonce, and the family just released a statement. Well, she turns 28 today. Now, on to some of your messages on Facebook. We hosted Peter Kauju from KCCA, and he was talking about some of the achievements KCCA has done. For example, they say they have fixed over 144 kilometers of road in the city, and they are winding up Ginger Road in the next month, and that should be good news for most of us who use that road. We shall now cross over to Brian. Good morning, Brian. Whom are you talking to today?
Thank you so much, Mabel. We're still at the rooftop of the Kampala Serena Hotel. Now, this morning on Everyday Life, a story is told of someone who was traveling to Nairobi. But because he didn't want to carry a very heavy bag, he decided to strap the money on his thighs. Days later, he developed complications. This morning on Everyday Life, we are going to be looking at the right way of handling money. I'm very privileged to have Hassan Nyanga. What's the? It's a tongue twister.
Indeed, it's one of the longest names everywhere I go. But it is pronounced Hassan Nyanga Vyaki.
Nyanga Vyaki from Bank of Uganda. Coming up, Everyday Life.
Department.
Well, we're at the rooftop, and we're sorry if you're having any problems with your sound. Yes, lots of wind here, and our technicians are working around the clock to make sure it gets better. Hassan Nyangabyaki, this morning, the Assistant Director from the Currency Department of Bank of Uganda. Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
I know you're a very, very busy man, but thank you for taking off time and coming to share with us this morning. Bank of Uganda has recently had a lot of media directions to people and telling them to return money. This particular currency regime is ending. Please bring back the old notes. And even when I was in Gulu, people were being told, please return that money, please return that money. But also a focus on the way we use money here in Uganda. In your work that you've found, why is it hard for some people to keep money the right way? For example, how can someone keep money on a thigh? Or you go to the bank and you see men getting money out of socks, or women put money inside their bras. Don't they trust the banks? Are there options that they can use?
First, let me begin by thanking the citizens of this country for responding to our call to return the old money, which they did so well, and we were very well impressed by the achievements that we made under that recall program. Almost all the money was returned by the public. To go straight to the question that you have just raised, usually it is a question of not being informed enough or not making the right decisions that are available to the person handling that money. If you are traveling to Nairobi with a substantial amount of money, you do not have to physically carry it from Uganda across the border to Nairobi. You can actually have that money on your account and you withdraw it across the border in Nairobi.
Bank charges, you know, I may get there and the bank system is different and I do not know how to use visa things, you know, all those complications. I'm a businessman who didn't go to school. You know, those are some of the excuses that I hear at the border. I want to change money at the border because the exchange rate is a bit friendly.
It all comes down to costs. Everything has got a cost. If you take UGX from here and you deliver it in Nairobi, you will not spend it in UGX. You may want to spend it in Kenya shillings. So you'll incur the cost of converting it from UGX to the Kenya shillings. Similarly, if you put it on your account and you went to withdraw it in Nairobi, you'll still incur a cost. So both options that are available to you have got costs associated to them.
Right.
But one of them is less risky and more convenient. And the other is more risky and less convenient. If you strap money on your thigh, for example, I'm sure you'll have a very uncomfortable ride if you're traveling by bus.
Baggy pants.
Exactly. Then secondly, if this is used money, which has circulated for quite some time, you're not sure where that money has been. The money goes to the markets, it goes to the butchers, it goes to garages, it goes to all sorts of places. And the path that it travels, it collects lots of dirt, lots of chemicals along the way. So if you're going to have it strapped onto your body, you may not know how your body will react to all those materials that the money has collected along the way.
Well, question also is, are there particular funny places that you have discovered people keep money? Like, I find it weird for someone in the bank, inside the bank, to get the money out of their bra. I even close my eyes and I'm like, banange. What is happening?
Indeed, the men even go further than that. The women may put in the bra, but some men put it in their pants, so to say.
Hassan, you're lying.
These are day-to-day experiences that we come across. But beyond keeping the money on their body, we have people who bury the money, especially up country. Someone will get his bundle of money, put it in a kavera, go to a garden. He'll make sure that the wife is not anywhere near when he's going to the garden and buries it, believing that it is safe there. Safe because he has wrapped it in a kavera. But this kavera is going to be eaten by termites. It is going to deteriorate and the money may eventually get soaked by moisture or rain. And in many cases, they end up with mutilated money and risk losing that money too.
What is mutilated money?
Wow. I'm going to come to that shortly.
All right.
But let me also mention another place or other places where people keep money. Some people keep the money in the ceiling because they are hiding it away from their spouses. Others keep it under the carpet because, again, they're hiding it away from their spouses. They have hidden it so far from the spouses, probably because the lady cannot climb into the ceiling, but they have taken it very close to the rats. So whereas the spouse cannot access the money, the rats will enjoy that money. Either way, you lose it. Now, that takes me to your question of what is mutilated money. To break it down, mutilated money simply means defaced or torn money. If you have got a banknote which is torn or defaced in any way, you consider that to be a mutilated banknote. The same way with coins. If you have got a coin which has got an injury or has lost a piece of it, then you consider that a mutilated coin. And they are very common in our market. Money gets mutilated in so many ways. Like we have just seen, eaten by rats, eaten by termites, sometimes negligently torn. Probably you put a very tight rubber band on a knot, and instead of pulling out the bundle to pull out a knot you want to stealthily pull the knot out of the bundle without foreseeing that you actually have a bundle.
But you have a lot of money inside.
Indeed. And you end up tearing that knot. That's negligence. And then there are those who are adventurous. Previously, when we had a thread inside the banknote, some people would, out of curiosity, want to tear a bit where that embedded thread is to see what that thread looks like. So those are some of the ways into
I'm told of a guy who also hid his money under a sigiri and then went. Someone else came, cooked, and the money was burned because the heat was so much below. Well,
dear.
What are the weird places you've hidden your money before? Share with us on our Facebook page, Morning at NTV. And of course, feel free to go to our Twitter handle at Morning at NTV. This morning with Hassan Nyangabyaki.
Thank you.
Yes, the Assistant Director, Currency Department from the Bank of Uganda. And Hassan, some people have argued that, you know, our money is also very easy to tear and wear. Why don't we do like the Australians do it? Let's have some plastic money. First of all, it's very beautiful money. It's long-lasting. Even if I pour water on it, everything is fine. Why don't we go that way?
First, let me appraise our viewers on what our money is made of. Our money is made out of a special paper, which is not commercially available.
I can't just buy it off the street.
However loaded you are, however influential you may be, you will not get access to banknote paper. The banknote paper that the Bank of Uganda uses to make our banknotes.
Wow.
And it being a special paper, a lot of effort is made to ensure that that paper, one, is difficult to be produced by anyone else. It is very difficult it is durable, okay? In other words, it is a lot much more durable than the conventional paper. The paper that you'll buy from your stationery shop does not have the same life as the paper that is used to make legal tender banknotes. So the bank makes a lot of effort to see that the material it uses to make your banknotes can stay fit for quite a long time and can remain admirable to you, the user. You'll be proud to hold it for quite some time. The option of using plastic money, like you have just mentioned, did you say the Australians?
Yes.
Yes. The Australians are some of the pioneers in using plastic money printed on a polythene-like material.
Yeah.
It looks beautiful, yes, and it looks sleek. It has got lots of advantages. It lasts longer. Naturally, if you got an ordinary polythene paper against an ordinary paper, probably a photocopying paper, the polythene should be more durable compared to...
And sometimes when I sit down and I get my money, say, from the back pocket, it comes out moist, and I'm thinking, is it my body, or... I feel like paper is just...
In that case, most likely it's your body. But to return to the point of plastic money versus paper money, each of these two are options that are available to central banks around the world. And the central banks naturally will want to be as cost efficient as they can be because they want to save money for the economies. Now, you also need to, as a central bank, you also need a substrate or a material that is going to give you the best confidence from the public that is going to handle your money. In our case, the paper-based money that we're using right now has done us so well.
Yeah.
the people still love it, and it still gives us the mileage that we expect out of it. Each banknote has got a lifespan. I'll give it in two perspectives. There is a lifespan that is calculated in the laboratory. After you have manufactured the paper, you go in the laboratory, and under certain controlled conditions, you will be able to determine how long that paper should last, or how long that banknote will last if it is out there in the market.
Right.
You simulate conditions that represent the market in which the banknotes are going to circulate. However, when you take the note in the actual market, there is what we call the actual performance of the banknote, which is always going to be different from the performance under controlled lab conditions. Because when it is out here in the market, people are probably going to surprise the note with conditions that the laboratory did not anticipate.
It's more harsh out there
Exactly.
when the money is being used for transactions.
Exactly. So the money may last a little shorter than the laboratory lifespan.
Right.
The polythene-based money, the polymer money, usually is calculated to have a much longer lifespan than the paper-based banknotes. And that is not doubtable. It is proven that when you take these banknotes in the laboratory, the paper-based money will have a shorter lifespan compared to the polymer-based banknotes.
Right.
However, when you take that polymer note in the market, it will equally get surprised by how people will subject it to unanticipated conditions. From our studies at the Bank of Uganda, from experience of other countries, it has been found that the print on the polymer notes will not last as long as the polymer itself.
So polymer is the plastic one?
The plastic,
Okay.
exactly. Just to take it home, when you're going to print, when you're going to issue a polymer or a plastic banknote, you get a polythene, so to say, a polythene sheet, and you print onto that polythene sheet so that it looks like a banknote.
Yeah.
When you're going to do a paper-based banknote, you do the same. You get a paper, special banknote paper, and you print on top of it. With the paper, usually the ink sinks into the banknote. So it will grow with the banknote. Even as the banknote grows old, the ink remains because it is sunk into the paper. The paper is quite porous. That's why you see that even your oldest banknote has still got clear, legible print onto it. But from some of the studies that we have done with a polythene-based banknote, whereas the polythene will stay much longer, the print on the polythene will not stay as long as the polythene.
So as Bank of Uganda, you've decided to take to stay with the paper money because even with the polythene, the figures will be erased after some time. So it's still useless to go that way. Well, are there, as we wrap this up, are there other African countries that have tried to go that way?
Well, I would not want to authoritatively speak for other central banks, but I can generally mention what is in the public knowledge, that Nigeria was one of the countries that took the lead in using polythene-based banknotes, but recently they have reviewed that decision and they are going back to using paper-based money.
Right.
We also had Zambia down in the south. They also issued polythene-based money, and they have recently reverted to printing the money on the paper, just like we are doing. And there are not many in the region that are using polythene-based banknotes.
Hassan Nyagabiaki, who is the Assistant Director in the Currency Department at Bank of Uganda, will definitely call you back and you'll give us more about handling money the right way. I guess the next time when you come back, you'll also tell us about the legal implications of handling money the wrong way. Can you be punished by misusing that money? Continue sending those comments on Facebook and Twitter at Morning at NTV. And when we come back, we'll be talking the World Cup with Isma Dakaba Chigongo. Stay with us.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji and Brian Mulondo.
Follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat.
Follow the beat.
Follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat.
Follow the beat.
Follow the beat, follow the beat.
Follow the beat.
Follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat.
Follow the beat.
Health and Wellness
is brought to you by Caring Tech Strength, Panadol Advance. When minutes matter, take Panadol Advance. Panadol Advance is a fast pain reliever with Optizop technology. Caring Tech Strength. Panadol Advance.
Kampala has been voted in the past as one of the favorite cities for tourists, one of the most peaceful cities. That is something that is changing.
Kale Kaihura, the Inspector General of Police, and President Yoweri Museveni, their alliance, they can only crack down or stop individual strikes and individual demonstrations. But I don't think they can stop the growth of militancy.
No holds barred.
Besigye and Lukwago have particular grievances against the government, some legitimate, some misguided. What should the police do? Of course, the police has to intervene, A, to protect the power of President Yoweri Museveni and the NRM from disruption by Besigye and Lukwago, but B, also, never forget this, to protect those ordinary people whose property gets destroyed.
I want to ask that many think that they've actually been frustrated.
Opposition parties in Africa do not tend to be constructed around policy differences. FDC lacks a glue to hold its coalition of different power-hungry individuals together.
Incisive.
You see, the NRM is more divided internally than the FDC. The advantage with the NRM is it has political power.
Analytical.
I think that one of the best organized political parties in Uganda is the PPP, the People's Progressive Party with Ansali. This idea that everybody is telling around the world that Africans are poor and they cannot contribute to their own political and social emancipation is crap. In fact, I think that the opposition parties in Uganda have to win an election in an unfair and unleveled ground.
Newsnight with Andrew Mwenda.
The average age of the entire national team is under 18. And so
the primary role of Team Uganda is to remain to Division 2.
Probably that's the only thing that can make one or two rugby fans smile, that the clubs are doing well.
The players haven't put on they haven't wore the game faces. They're not the animals we saw last season, because Ferguson had the same group of players and he did deliver the Holy Grail, which is the title.
On the next episode, brought to you by...
At Orange, we know you want to do more on the internet. That's why we bring you happy hour day and night.
La Patrona.
Fight me at the polls and face to face.
I have lots of money, Doc. I have a lot of money. Please let me stay. I'll compensate you. I'll compensate you well for it, okay?
Are you saying that the only kidney that I have left is about to fail me?
I'm afraid so.
This is all your fault,
I don't want anything from a traitor like you.
How dare you reprimand me?
You just came to San Pedro with only one purpose. You wanted to destroy the boss lady.
La Patrona.
You can download movies at the lowest prices and never fast from Orange. Dial *133# to buy a data bundle. Happy hour changes with Orange. Today changes with Orange.
It's 20 minutes on to 9 o'clock. Thank you so much for staying with us. We apologize for the technical glitches that we're having. It's too much wind at the rooftop, and our crew is making sure that they sort that out. Please bear with us. And we'll be talking Sport World Cup, especially. Good morning, Ismail. You don't look too happy now. Is it because that...
someone has been discussing handling money, and it's quite something when they are talking about something you don't have in plenty. you think about what you're going to be handling when in the next few hours.
Right.
But I'm good. I'm good.
Well,
I'm good. Just a bit dull.
I'll probably start from something that, you know, I went home very sad, but I couldn't believe the fight that Cameroonians put up last night. Let's start with that first. I don't like Cameroon. I don't think I'll ever support this team again. But I was quite impressed last night.
Sometimes I think it's very easy for every team to play when the pressure is gone. And I thought the Cameroonians, the moment the pressure was taken off them, that load was lifted after the first two games which they lost. Especially in the first half against Brazil, they played with a lot more freedom. They didn't look like they had any baggage on their backs. And most of them, the players in that team, I think 7 of them, were making their first World Cup appearance, and they didn't have the baggage of all the past failures.
Yeah.
Actually, one of them, Landry Nguemo, only played 1 game 4 years ago, and then the others who have all this baggage of failure, Samuel Eto'o was sitting on the bench. So I thought the Cameroonians, in that sense, could have played much better in that kind of game. And actually, for a moment, they delivered ecstasy in that national stadium in Brasilia when they equalized. I'm talking about ecstasy for Africa. Because I don't think many of the fans inside that stadium were too pleased when Cameroon equalized.
Yeah.
And no one would have wanted them to come back and even get a goal in there. But eventually, they lost by 4 goals to 1, but there's a lot more respect. That's why I said sometimes when the pressure is gone. And that's why I prefer to call some of these performances those that come in garbage time. Garbage time happens when the game is already lost. There is nothing to fight for. I remember when Carl Yekinson, for example, scored the goal for Arsenal against Norwich on the final day of the season. Arsenal already 4th, Norwich relegated. It's a garbage goal. On the stat sheet, it will show that Carl Yekinson made 20 appearances and scored a goal. What did it contribute? Nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah, but in terms of performance, the Cameroonians should be pleased. And I remember Brian telling you should accord them a little bit more respect. They've been to 7 World Cup finals. They've been to 7 World Cup. That's a record for an African team.
But you see,
no team manages the same. Though, on the other hand, while you may not have respect for them, is that they now have the record for the most defeats at a World Cup, level with Mexico, and that is 7 in a row. They've now lost 7 games in a row. It's
so
quite
you
a
see,
thing.
they are breaking bad records only. So why really?
I want to ask, with your garbage theory, is that what you think happened with Spain and Australia?
Exactly. Goals in garbage time. For Spain, they beat up on the Australians by 3 goals to 0. But probably one of the most pleasing things, because David Villa, Fernando Torres and Juan Mata got the goals. Quite a performance from the Spaniards. But Australia barely had a shot on goal. And that's when you look at such things, you think, okay, Spain could have done this early in the tournament. But for me, the biggest satisfaction has got to be David Villa. Not only was he already the all-time scorer for Spain, but he took his tally to 59 in his last game for the national team. And actually, as he came off, he cried. I don't know whether many of you caught that on the camera. David Villa was in tears as he came on. He knew this is the last time he's walking out for Spain after 9 years of unmatched success. 2 European titles. Actually, he won European title because the second one he missed the second tournament injured, and then the World Cup. I think at some point, for many of us who got introduced to football in the 90s, in the late 90s, never thought we'd ever probably see someone play for Spain as good as Raul Gonzalez. Now, David Villa is 15 goals ahead of Raul Gonzalez. Raul Gonzalez has 44, and David Villa has 59. That's quite a feat. So, whatever the garbage time goal now for David Villa is, at least for him, in terms of the record, it's quite something for him to go and get 59. And the Elbows can go home and know that Spain could start that Euro 26 qualifying campaign in September against Macedonia, looking up after all the bad things that have happened to them in this World Cup.
Right. Yeah. Who got top spot in Group B?
Netherlands got it. 2 substitutions there from Louis van Gaal got the goals. Leroy Farr, and then the second one, Memphis Depay, who came off the bench and scored that blinder, especially because of the way Ian Robben set it up, running from inside his own half after a long ball from Nigel de Jong to get them the second. And the Dutch should be pleased. I'm not one who believes the Dutch will win the World Cup, but to go and score nine goals in 3 games and collect 9 points. How many teams have done that? Not many teams have 9 points from 3 games. The Dutch do have that luxury. Now, how much can they improve? That's for me the big hour when you hit the high notes in the group stages. Because tournament is about improving progress, one game after the other. Will they improve further than this? That's a big.
Who are they likely to face in the?
They'll be playing the Mexicans because Mexico did beat up on Croatia by 3 goals to 1.
Yesterday you said you'd be disappointed if the Croats didn't go through.
Exactly. You quoting me?
I'm quoting you.
I thought the Croats on the day, they really choked. For the performance they put up in the first 2 games against Brazil and Cameroon, this was nothing close to what Croatians have done in this World Cup. So I was very disappointed in the way they played, but then you've got to give the Mexicans and their coach, Miguel Herrera, who I thought was brilliant in terms of this tactical setup. They're extremely defensive without necessarily parking the bus. Because whenever they got out on the break, they looked menacing. And actually, under that kind of system, Javi Hernandez Chicharito, who is more known to most of the Ugandan fans because he plays for Manchester United, scored his first goal since the Confederations Cup of last year. And actually he hadn't scored in 13 games until last night. So it was quite something to see the Mexicans play that well. And I've repeatedly been critical of the way they've been playing. I've been critical of their inability to score goals. I've been extremely critical by the fact that during the qualifying 10 games during the CONCACAF qualifying, they only won 2, and they're at the World Cup. But now they're going to the round of 16, and look at it this way: they're going to the round of 16 for the 7th successive World Cup, Mexico, and they are not anywhere close to being the powerhouses in football. But while they do that, and they'll be playing Netherlands in the next round. Netherlands, of course, have reached a World Cup final in 1974, 1978, and 2010. Have never won. They're still too far away from that, but that should be an interesting game. And then, like Brian, you alluded, the Brazilians, after beating Cameroon, now they do play Chile. Chile were beaten by Netherlands. That game, I think, should be on Saturday, and then Netherlands will be on Sunday. Netherlands against Mexico. As a round of 16 will be the topic of the weekend. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
Well, as Mabel's team heads home.
Brian, I sent you a message today. Actually, the British Olympic Association is going to meet Roy Hodgson's support staff to learn lessons for 2016, Rio 2016. Now we shall see how many medals England will get then and how many Italy will get.
Is that a joke?
Costa Rica.
That's like the joke of the year.
We have moved on.
We have moved on.
We have moved on, and we are seeing what can we do in the future.
My concern is that England has won more World Cups than it has ever played. Every World Cup, England wins it. But it never did.
We are now looking at the Olympics.
England has the media to play for them. But the players, am I wrong? And in 2016, you've won all the medals. See,
we may win World Cup. The football is an Olympic game, isn't it?
Yeah,
we may win the football in
world. Even thinking about the Olympics, and you've already won the medals there before you play.
But Brad, you should be very careful before you write off the English in Olympic sport, because 2 years ago, they picked their highest tally of medals when they were host in London. I think the highest tally since the Olympics in the 1930s. The last time London had hosted the Olympics, they finished top of the medal table. And one of the things they do well at the Olympics, they go and win a lot of medals in cycling, in the video pursuit. They go and collect.
What's the name of that sport where you walk fast?
Walking.
Walking. Yeah, those funny games.
Like Italy wins anything, or Costa Rica, your new team.
When it comes to football,
I'll remind you,
you're not competitive at all.
Anyway, I'm rooting for Uruguay today.
And you have a very good chance.
Thank you, Isma.
And maybe I'm not saying this to please you. is that if you've noticed, there's been a tendency for the South American and North American teams to do well. All European teams are heading home. You already saw what happened to Croatia yesterday. Colombia through, Chile are through, Brazil are through, Argentina through. Why not Uruguay?
That's a big. Suarez is going to be on fire.
Now that's a bigger problem. I thought the Uruguayans, after getting up to a slow start in the tournament, they lost to Costa Rica. In the second game, they made 5 changes to that team, especially dropping their captain Diego Lugano. They were different animal in that game, and that's an animal that Italy should be very scared of. And actually, while the Italians started well against England, they ran out of steam against Costa Rica. I don't think they played that well even when they were trailing by a goal. They didn't put Costa Rica under that kind of pressure where you're thinking they're going to get a goal. But should be a very, very close game. Probably the definitive areas have got to be 1 or 2 of them. How much the Uruguayans get to Andre Pirlo and don't allow him to play that much. We say this every time when Italy are going to play, and no team ever does it so well. Probably Cristiano Rodriguez of Uruguay should have a few things to say about that. And then 2, how will the Italians, on the other hand, deal with Luis Suarez? Against England, he had only 2 shots on goal. One with a header and the other with his foot when Steven Gerrard made that mistake. And what happened, he punished them by scoring twice. Now, with a strike of that quality, Uruguay have a chance to win every other game they play. And that's for me the biggest fear for the Italians. And with this
there's no queen to kiss Balotelli.
Yeah.
So
because the English are going home, so there is no kiss.
There's no Uruguayan queen to kiss Balotelli to be his motivation.
Yeah, yes, but I have a feeling that's going to be a very, very close. I wouldn't want to pick a winner in this one. I've got to be very honest. I don't want to pick a winner.
I think you've just said Uruguay have a good chance.
They have a very good chance, but I want to pick a winner because the Italians, for me, the biggest fear is that 4 years ago, you remember, Italy got knocked out of the group stages. They had to play Slovakia, and then they had to win that game to get through. They lost it by 3-2. 4 years later, you know how karma works. Could be the same kind of fate for the Italians. And there are areas in that team that have not been pleased with. I don't think Gianluigi Buffon has been playing well in goal. I don't think Daniel De Rossi has showed up ever since the first game.
I was quite disappointed with De Rossi.
Yeah, exactly. He hasn't played well. Then they started the tournament with Marco Verratti, eventually dropped him. I think they need to get Thiago Motta onto the team. Thiago Motta probably is one of the better options. On the other hand, beyond Balotelli, where are the goals going to come from? Ciro Immobile came into the World Cup having scored. Can't score. Cassano has failed to score. Ciro Immobile came into the World Cup having scored 22 for Torino as top scorer in the Serie A. Alessio Sessi, I saw him half and puff against Costa Rica. So where are the goals going to come from, the Italians, when they need them? At least the Uruguayans would say, where are the goals going to come from? Phone call, Luis Suarez. The chances there will bury it.
You get out of it. But Italy.
Okay, away from World Cup.
There's still another World Cup game, Mabel, and that is Ivory Coast.
Hey.
They could advance to the round of 16 today, and I'm rooting for them. I'm going to be cheering very loud. I want everyone to. They play Greece, who don't score. And if Ivory Coast don't go through this group, I said it early in the tournament, don't ever forgive them. Probably this generation will never watch them play again. But they're in a situation where it's in their hands, because Colombia are through and play Japan. Japan need to win by probably a margin of by 3-0 to overtake Ivory Coast. Ivory Coast could even do with a draw against Greece. So if they want to
still go through.
And still go through.
No matter what happens.
No matter
what is the scenario for Ivory Coast? Is this a draw or it is a must win?
There are two situations. They win, they are through without any man. They draw the game, then they'll be hoping that Japan don't beat Colombia by a margin of 3-0. And I don't think Japan will beat Colombia by that margin.
Ideally, if Colombia beats Japan and Ivory Coast gets a draw, it goes through.
Ivory Coast are through for the very first time.
So we are praying that Colombia beats Japan.
But I was reading the Toure brothers lost a brother.
Yeah, Ibrahima, who used to play in Lebanon.
They have been recalled, is it?
No, they opted to play on. I actually saw an interview of Kolo Toure saying, this is what my brother would have wished for me to do, to go out there and make them proud by playing football. The brother was actually not
28. He was 28.
Yeah, not as heralded, not in the same kind of language like the other two, because he's been playing as a striker in Lebanon. How many people follow the league in Lebanon? But actually, when he comes home, he lives in Manchester, I think, with Yaya Toure most of the time. So
when he comes home, so home is England?
Yeah, this
not
is England.
Ivory Coast?
When you own property in a country, it's home.
When he comes home to
when he comes home to Manchester, and he died. But somehow one of the things that is disappointing that there hasn't been any kind of medical report. We can only speculate about, you can't even give a reason why he passed away. Luckily, it's not something after a visit to Ivory Coast, because I know a few years ago in Nwanko Kanu, was sick at Arsenal, and they said he was bitten by an African mosquito. And I was thinking, do you have to say an African mosquito? You just have to say mosquito.
I was terrible.
Yeah, and actually, not too long ago before the World Cup, Kolotero was also suffering from malaria. And they say on a visit to Ivory Coast, he came back suffering from malaria, so you'd know.
The mosquitoes in England eat chips. Ours, muogo.
But no, you know, malaria is a tropical disease, and they don't have a lot of forests like we do and rivers, so that's a part of the problem.
Ah, well, that's very, very sad.
Well, on to Dennis. You wanted to tell us yesterday about Duncan Mugabe. He did not defend his title in Nairobi, but you said there could have been some other issues.
Yeah.
What are they?
Duncan Mugabe returned from Nairobi at least 5 million shillings richer, because he got to the final in the singles, he got to the final in the doubles, and also won the mixed doubles, teaming up with Caroline Odu there. But the disappointment for him, and it's extremely wrong that we should even be discussing this on TV, is that he was supposed to play in a doubles final with his partner David Oringa. Know what happened? David Oringa got stuck in traffic and didn't show up for the final. So they gave away walkover.
How does that happen?
I'm thinking...
in Nairobi, he got stuck in traffic in Nairobi.
Traffic in Nairobi. Because David Oringa had been playing in the tournament, got knocked out in the round of 16. But in the doubles, they've been playing with Mugabe. And last year, Mugabe won a hat-trick in Nairobi, because he was a singles champion in the tennis, he was a doubles champion with Oringa, and also the mixed doubles champion. Now he got to the final in 3 of them, couldn't go on to the court for one of them because Oringa was stuck in traffic. And this is something that this doubles final happened before Mugabe could play in the singles final. Wow. And he said that messed up his head. When he walked out to play in the singles final, his head was never there in terms of him going to win. And this is a person who's got to the final in 3 of the last 4 years in Kenya. And you can tell from the disappointment when he speaks.
They don't have borders there?
They don't actually. Nairobi doesn't have borders.
You see, you know,
when you've gone out to play tournament, exactly, that's a bit of irresponsibility, because when you're told that you have a match, for example, at 10 a.m., I'm thinking if I'm a sportsman, I'll be there at 8.
Yeah.
Come down, take a walk around the court like sportsmen do, take a bit of water, take rest, talk to the umpires, chat with a few people, calm down as a person, and go out there and swing the racket. Now, wherever Oringa was swinging his back in traffic, his racket in traffic jam.
And they couldn't get someone else to just come on, because a walkover is painful.
It's very painful, but when you walk into a tournament, in the doubles, you register to play with that one person throughout. You can't change midway through the tournament.
Oh, man.
There's a doubles team I love that is a Pakistani and an Indian. They really do well on the Grand Slams. Well, I think the Indian is female, and the Pakistani is male. You know, with all the conflict between Pakistan and India, they're just the one thing that they agree on, it's tennis.
Well, that's very disappointing. We should probably get Oringa here to come and answer. So irresponsible. Tiger Head Power starting to deliver on the promise after all those signings in the off-season.
Yeah, I think they should feel like they are, because they've really struggled to score this season, and that's not something you could solve Tiger Head Power. But for them to go and score 86 against Shearing, even if Shearing are only a new team in the league, they've been in the lower divisions, only got promoted this year. But after Power don't play well on Sunday, and we all have this joke within basketball: you want to beat Power, wait for them on Sunday, and especially because that they'll have. The things that all of us indulge in on Friday and Saturday make our Sundays very dull. So do Power. But for them, the responsibility they have is that while Mabel will stay home in bed, and so will Brian, and probably only watch a movie, Power have to walk out on court and play. And just a fortnight ago, they lost to Vegetarian, one of the lesser teams in the league. Now, to go and win after all the things that have happened to them this season, probably for me, is some of us dealing with our expectations. Like you said, after all the signings they made, they haven't gone out and conquered and beat up on teams by 110 to 40, and it's probably dealing with our expectations, and probably the fans too are dealing with the same. We still need Power to go out and beat so many teams. They're not exactly doing that. So probably this weekend, when they play 2 games in 3 days and one against Indeji and the other against Shearing, it's got to be feeling like relief for them. This is what we want to see Power do, because I want to see them compete again. They've been absolute rubbish, to follow from Brian Tuka's words, in the last 2 years. Got knocked out in the quarterfinals in 2011 and got 2012, and then got knocked out in the semifinals last year by City, who eventually went on to win the league title. So it's important to see them compete again.
Wow. All right, you can get more sports updates at 1:30 p.m. on Omumuli with Isma, Lumansi and Alan. And of course, every Monday we come live from Club Silk at 10:30 p.m. with Sports Bar. Winnie Nakato this morning is contributing our African proverb. Let's check it out. Birth is the only remedy against death.
Surely, there is no other way you can avoid death, except by giving birth to more people. Yeah,
but
and they never replace.
You guys say that you're going to have one child. Did you say one?
Two.
Two?
Yeah.
You're definitely not providing a remedy.
I also said two.
Two. How come we share something in common?
Yeah,
maybe there's something here that we are not seeing.
There are already 7 billion people in the world. The rate of environmental degradation and the way people are invading wetlands and forests. You don't want us to have 12 billion people in a few years.
But they are going to be.
The people in the village are having children on our behalf.
Yeah, and probably Brian wants to have 13 children. Yeah, but there's no other way you can evade death, or there is no other way you can replace the dead except by giving birth.
But still, not even replacing them. I don't quite agree with that, because a person is, we're all individuals, we're all different. There'll never be another Brian Mulondo, even if you have 10 sons, you know.
I'm one of those people who kind of think that I actually lived many years ago and I've come back like in season 2, something like.
Like you could have been a West African or something.
Like maybe another. I should have been an American, and you know, like. Yeah, I should have been more famous, like...
You should have been something totally different.
Yeah. All right. It's going to be a beautiful day, lots of wind, and yeah, please carry a jacket or a raincoat. If you're moving umbrella, women love to do that. They buy the small umbrellas, put it in their cases of bags, and walk with them.
What's your problem, Brian?
Yeah.
What does the women carry?
Ovens. Free
DVD players,
DVD players, Vitz cars, you know, small cars like that. We'll catch you tomorrow for yet another exciting edition of Morning at NTV, and yeah, have a great day. Bye-bye.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Mulondo.
Turning on your world.
Hezekiah Walker and the Love Fellowship Choir are coming to Kampala June 27th. Also in concert, Exodus, Judith Babirier, and Romeo Adong, live at the New Liberty Worship Center International Lugala. Tickets are $150,000, $50,000, and $30,000. On sale at all Payway outlets and the Liberty Worship Center. Call 077-256-9708. Also join us at our special charity meet and greet dinner for cancer treatment Thursday, June 26th at the Speak Resort. Tickets $200,000. That's June 27th. Hezekiah Walker.
On the next episode, brought to you by...
At Orange, we know you want to do more on the internet. That's why we bring you happy hour day and night.
Destiny River. All you have to do is give this envelope to the bishop. Then I want to see what that subversive priest will do next.
Do you want me to deliver it personally?
No, Laurel. That's not the kind of business she's coming over to offer you. Business that may end up being very good for your company.
2 times! When I insisted, he punched me. You were there, you saw it.
Destiny River.
can download movies at the lowest prices and never fast from Orange. Dial *133# to buy a data bundle. Happy hour changes with Orange. Today changes with Orange.
Amanyi gampedde mu kitange embeera y'ensene myeze nyamba mukamazi n'ensozi zivunuke benarine wadde okusooka abamu benoonyezanga byabwe leero tata nkomyewo nzikakanye lwakuba nkizudde mukama wasalawo ku mbeera yange kyenvudde nzija kitange na bino biponye hati kiza mukama embeera y'okupatirira yandusa kusaba mponya yakuwa ebikwana emikuusa laba nsize kwawonya na bino bitase mponya bino ebikemo by'ensozi kakanye laba nafubanga nnyo okuyiya nga n'emikwano ngitaasa naye nkizudde mu bizibu tebasembera nafubanga nnyo mbasanyuse na buli kenfunye nga mbawa nekejanga nenemalamu kumbe njolanganga mu kisu naye kati nkize namalala gambadeko nzikakanye sembeza woli nkwetaaga hati nkiza mukama embeera y'okupatirira yandusa kusaba mponya yakuwa ebikwana emikuusa laba nsize kwawonya na bino bitase mponya bino ebikemo by'ensozi kakanye mukama mponya ndi mu bbanga nzeka waggulu situukayo wansi nayo ntyayo kitange jangu ontaase sumulula enjegereza sitani ze yansiba nzijayo eno ababi gye bansuula kiza mukama jangu ontaase kitange nyini wewe nkomusomu gwegwe netaaga nange ntasa mukama nange ntasa mukama nange ntasa mukama ejo nkwateho mponya mponya nkwetaaga dda olw'enguli n'onywako n'ettaaba n'okonna ey'omubivu lw'otuseeyo ng'onoonya ekinakuyamba naye mu byonna tewali njawulo salawo kkiriza ogwa Yesu tojulire kubanga omukwano gwa Yesu gunyuma omukwano gwa Yesu namuka teri alikundesa mukwano Yesu omukwano gwo gwolina omujjuvu omutali bukusa
amazima nonnebattewo singati yaca Yesu yatuba nonnebatteko kize n'abalala baagala yena bodi bamanye musenzi baagala byampankuwe mama tukyempa kuyimusa nenkusuuta kubanga gwobasinga omukwano gwa Yesu namuka omukwano gwa Yesu omukwano Yesu omukwano gwo gwolina omujjuvu omutali bukusa buli akkiriza omukwano gwe afuna okuwummula akusanga okaaba amaziga n'asangula ababweresa ebitiibwa n'ebirungi mukubeeyo nakakunsi sobola okubeerwa ebiganye ebimuwe Yesu asobola byonna olw'omukwano gwe n'obulungi bwobwo Yesu omukwano gwa Yesu gunyuma Yesu omukwano gwa Yesu namuka teri asinga Yesu omukwano Yesu omukwano gwolina omujjuvu omutali bukusa temuli bukusa omukwano gwo teri akusinga obulungi bwo teri akwenkana nimujjawo omulungi akusinga gwe newaddeyo mbe nabwe emirembe gyonna Yesu wange okwewekaweka wentagala omukwano gwa Yesu gunyuma omukwano gwa Yesu namuka teri alikundesa mukwano Yesu simulaba bwose omukwano gwolina omujjuvu omutali bukusa omukwano gwe gunyuma omukwano gwe namuka omukwano gwa Yesu gunyuma omukwano gwa Yesu namuka teri alikundesa mukwano Yesu simulaba nyonze omukwano gwo gwolina omujjuvu omutali bukusa Onyambanga mukama n'okwata kakaseera kakaserezi onyambanga omukono n'okasukira kubanga ngendera ddala onyambanga kana malala gesima njiganemete musitani yakukamiza onyambanga anabbi b'omulimba bangi abana bayiye kyakulya onyamba n'endubisanya olutalo tata si birungi jangu tukwateko tuwe emirembe kuba tagali mundi nesitani strategy yakyusa kati ebikemo bingi osansira kuwa mulumi pusa bundi wobwe kaba wadde ezitaliwo dini kuyiya tibanabbiwa yo ya nusu kozine sadaka zaffe
Sometimes children have amazing ideas, but cleaning technology removes stains fast. New Omo, no one removes tough stains faster.
Karamoja, kindly bring your donated items to the Uganda National Theatre from the 2nd to 30th June 2014, or send your mobile money contribution to Winnie Banage on MTN 0772 121986. For more information, call Diana on 0791 162357. We can do great things with great love.
On the next episode, brought to you by...
At Orange, we know you want to do more on the internet. That's why we bring you happy hour day and night.
La Patrona.
Away. Fight me at the polls and face to face.
I have lots of money, Tom. I have a lot of money. Please let me stay. I'll compensate you. I'll compensate you well for it, okay?
Are you saying that the only kidney that I have left is about to fail me?
I'm afraid so.
This is all your fault, and
I don't want anything from a traitor like you.
How dare you reprimand me?
You just came to San Pedro with only one purpose. You wanted to destroy the boss lady.
La Patrona.
You can download movies at the lowest prices another fast from Orange. Dial *133# to buy a data bundle. Happy hour changes with Orange. Today changes with Orange.
This program is rated PG. It is suitable for children ages 8 and above, but parental guidance is advised as it might contain mild violence and mature situations.